Okay, good morning, everybody. We're going to kick off the webinar proper now. My name is Larry O'Donoghue. I'm the CEO of Access BIC, based here in Cork. The BIC part of Access BIC stands for we're a business innovation centre. So we are one of four similar business innovation centres here in Ireland. And we are one of 170 business innovation centres across all of the European Union. So you're very welcome to our second workshop. We're going to focus today on the next part of the journey of angel investing and how syndicates work. So that's to look at where we start to screen companies and look at deal flow and how those companies make it through that screening process and get selected to pitch in front of angel investors, whether they're in syndicates or angel clubs or angel funds, and how to run successful pitching events. So I think it's going to be a very interesting discussion today. It's the second of three workshops. We had our first workshop a couple of weeks ago. We might just do a recap on what we covered in that workshop shortly. I just want to cover a little bit about Access BIC and our background in angel investing. So we've had a long history in angel investing. We've been involved in angel investing since 2007. In 2007, we were co-founders of the national network in Ireland for angel investing. So that's called the Halo Business Angel Network. So it's been a very important organization in Ireland over the last 15, 16 years, 17 years now at this stage. But if we cast our minds back to 2007, there wasn't a lot of angel investing happening in the country. And HBAN was set up to formalize and put some structure around that angel network. So we're very proud of what was achieved with that. We went from, in 2007, virtually zero structured angel investment happening to a point in 2022, at the end of 2022, where annually there was 33 million of pure angel investing going into startups through that Halo Business Angel Network. So it's been a very important foundation, and we've got involved during that time, not just in the national syndicate, but also across Europe and into the European Business Angel Network across Europe, and met many of the angel networks and started to understand how they were running their networks, and learning from the good work that was being done by networks that were more established and more advanced than we were in Ireland. So hopefully we can give some of that knowledge and some of that information around building syndicates and building networks across the angel sector in this workshop today and the subsequent workshops after. We're directly involved in one syndicate. We're based in Ireland. We're involved in the Bull Investment Syndicate. So Access BIC are responsible for screening all of the companies that go into the Bull Investment Syndicate. And we're going to hear a little bit more about how that syndicate is structured in the workshop later today. Okay, so just before we kick on with a recap of what we covered in the first workshop, I just want to talk a little bit about Seeds of Bravery. And for what is an incredibly important project for us. And this investor literacy program is part of a larger project called Seeds of Bravery. So it's a project, a European project, that has a huge sense of purpose for us and for all of the 17 partners that are participating in this project. So it's a large project. It's worth 20 million. Across the entire project. The vast majority of that funding of 20 million is going directly into Ukrainian tech startups by way of grants, but also the consortium are teaming together to provide Ukrainian tech startups with incubation facilities, acceleration facilities. We're connecting them into the European Union in a better way. We're connecting them into markets within the European Union. Like today, we're doing things like this investor literacy program and connecting in with investors and training more investors to bring more investment into the Ukrainian tech startup scene, and just generally introducing the Ukrainian deep tech startup scene into the wider ecosystem across the European Union. So this program today, this investor literacy program, is part of that wider Seeds of Bravery project. And this is focused at supporting the investor literacy program is focused at supporting existing and potential Ukrainian angel investors to encourage them to invest in Ukrainian deep tech startups. Okay, so this is, like I said, is the second workshop. We had about a month ago, we had our first workshop. That was a more gentle introduction to the whole area of business angel investing. That session was recorded. If for some reason you did miss, and I know we have a lot of new registrations for this workshop, and a number of those people wouldn't have seen the first workshop, but it is recorded, as this session is being recorded as well today. So if you have missed it, you can go back through the Seeds of Bravery website and find the link to that first workshop. So what do we cover in it? So firstly, there was a gentle introduction to angel investing. Because the audience for this program is assumed to be either new angel investors or potential angel investors, we didn't take any assumption that there was any knowledge around angel investing. So we started from the start. We introduced concepts like what actually is an angel investor, what's the origins of it, what are the pros and cons in being an angel investor. If you are an angel investor, what were the expectations that you were on an angel investor, what an angel can bring to the table beyond just bringing cash to the table. We also just looked at the angel investment ecosystem in Ukraine. So we had someone to come on and do a very comprehensive presentation and analysis on the ecosystem around investing in Ukraine. We had a very interesting panel discussion with a number of different types of angel investors. So we had angel investors that looked more like maybe a VC type structure, a venture capital type structure. We had a syndicate that operated more like a crowdfunding type structure. We had an angel fund come on and talk to us about how they invest, and we had some fund-backed accelerators that talked about the different approach that they had in accelerating companies and funding them post-acceleration. We also then heard from Seamus Ivers. He's the chair of the Bull Investment Syndicate that I mentioned earlier. Seamus is a very experienced angel investor, so he came on and told us a little bit about his history around angel investing, and especially how his strategy around angel investing has evolved over the years. And he mentioned things like he tries not to fall in love with the startups that he sees, tries to remain consistent in the amount of investment that he's putting into each startup, and has moved his strategy from kind of one-off ad hoc investments into more longer term portfolio building strategy. So we had quite an interesting piece, we thought, in the first workshop, where we looked at a live pitch. So we brought one of the Seeds of Bravery participants, a Ukrainian startup called iLabs, who had recently received angel investment. So they had gone through the mill of angel investment, and they were kind enough to come on and give their pitch to the workshop. So as if they were pitching to investors, and we put them through the mill. We asked them the kind of questions that they would get asked, or they had got asked all the ways through their investment. So that was a particularly interesting insight into what it looks like to actually see a successful live angel investment pitch. We had some fun around that with some polls and to see who would actually have invested in that startup if they had the chance a number of months ago. And then finally, we finished up with a wider look across all of Europe. So I mentioned we're connected in and members of the European Business Angel Network. Jacopo Loso, who is the Director General of EBAN, the European Business Angel Network, was kind enough to come on and give us a history of angel investment and EBAN across Europe. He talked to us about the trends that are happening across angel investing, how those trends have evolved over the years, and what the future looks like for angel investing across Europe. So that was workshop one. It is recorded and it's available if you missed it. There's some, I think, fabulous content in there. But we're going to move our focus now more into what we have on offer for today. And I'm going to hand you over to the capable hands of my colleague, Clara Galvo, who is going to tell us a little bit more about what you can expect from today's workshop. So good morning, Clara.
Good morning, Larry. Thank you so much. So good morning, everyone. I'm really pleased to welcome today's attendees and speakers who are logging in from several places in Europe. About a third of the attendees today are actually based on Ukraine. So really happy to hear that. And most of you are actually new to angel investing. Around 60% of the attendees actually said that they're completely new to it. And 25% of you actually have done some investing, but are looking to learn more about the investment world. So you're definitely all in the right place. A little bit about myself. My name is Clara Galvão, and I'm a host for this workshop, and I'm also a senior consultant with Axis BIC. As Larry mentioned, Axis BIC is based in Ireland and is part of a network of 170 business innovation centers around the world, around Europe, not the world yet. Our mission really is to empower high-growth entrepreneurs to drive positive impact. And over the past 35 years, Axis BIC has worked with about 1,000 startups, with 85% of them surviving after 5 years, which is a really incredible statistic, actually. We collaborate to prepare founders for investment and growth, unlocking opportunities within our extensive network of partners, fellow entrepreneurs, and angel investors. Basically locally here in Ireland and also on the extensive EU ecosystem. My personal experience in relation to angel investing is in screening early stages startups on behalf of private angels and advising on how investment ready these companies are. So consequently influencing the angels' investment choices. So today, I'd like to speak to you a little bit about what we have prepared for you. As you know, this is the second workshop of the Investor Literacy Program. And as promised, every workshop builds on the previous one. So the topics that we're going to cover today are: what is an angel syndicate? What is angel fund? And what is angel network, and why join either? You will discover the benefits of joining an angel fund or syndicate and how a network of investors can actually amplify your returns while minimizing your risks. Next, you're going to be hearing a case study on the evolution of angel investing in Ireland, how Ireland's angel investment scene skyrocketed from 0 to 33 million per year, and the lessons that were learned along the way. We will then dive more deeply into setting up and structuring a syndicate. This might actually be very useful for those of you who are considering how to move from informal investment groups to more formal professional syndicates. There is nothing better than to hear from someone who has done just that and not too long ago. So the session will give you insights, including key structures that are needed and regulatory obligations. And don't worry, we're going to stop for coffee in a bit. We will stop for a quick break. And there you can stretch, but also stay close, as the next sessions is just as interesting and gets very practical. So after the break, we're going to kick off the session with a panel discussion where you're going to hear real stories from angels and syndicate leaders who will share their insights, challenges, and successes, giving you the inside track of what works and what doesn't work as well. Then we will have an expert on deep tech investment. In this session, we will explore the unique aspects of investing in deep tech, including IP valuation, spinouts, commercialization, and long-term strategies for success. Our last session is actually very practical and I believe incredibly useful for both angel investors and startups as well, as it gives a comprehensive process of how to go from deal flow to investor pitches. And you will get an expert advice on managing deal flow, screening companies, and preparing for successful investor pitch days, whether they're virtual or in person or hybrid. So please keep in mind that if you have any questions as we go along, just add them to the question and answer function that's here in Zoom. You're not going to miss it because there's a little question mark on it. What we're going to do is that we might just raise those questions directly to some of the experts that are here today, or we will save it for the end. Or even if we don't get to actually answer your questions today, these questions are going to be noted, and we're going to answer them and send them to you by email. So do ask. There's no question that is not important. We're here to learn. We will close the workshop today with the questions and answer sessions. And at that point, I want to point you out to our demo days, which we will be running online and showcasing investment-ready startups from Ukraine. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome our first speaker, Rui Falcão, president of Core Angels in Portugal, an experienced investor with a PhD on angel investing, who is also very experienced leading angel funds and syndicates. So he's going to talk to us about what is angel fund and syndicates and why you should join either. So welcome, Rui. Yeah. Hi. How are you?
So, hello, everyone.
Hey, Rui. I'll let you go. You're going to be sharing your screen as well, right? At this.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Which one I'm going to share? I think is this one. Are you seeing this? The screen?
Yeah, we are. If you just want to make it full screen.
Okay, let's go.
Great stuff.
Is it okay?
Perfect.
So, okay, so very nice to be here. Thank you, Axis, and all of you, all the persons that are here. I think this is a great opportunity to share and also to learn. Of course, that learning it's not only a theoretical process. So it's a little bit of theory and practice. So myself, I'm also an angel for more than 20 years, and I got passionate by angel investing. So I'm a professional business angel. I'm doing this full time. Firstly, I was an entrepreneur, created my startup, and after 20 years, after 8 years, I exit my startup. And I am business angel for more than 20 years. That's, yeah. And I got passionate to do this and to do something that that I am a deep believer about the power of entrepreneurship and angel investing. And so that's why I feel that like a mission to contribute to the economy, to the society, to my country. And I see what the differences is also in my country, what we were before the entrepreneurial revolution and after. And so that's why I feel how important it is to set up angel groups, to set up syndicates, to set up angel funds, to be partner of associations and all of these movements that really can make a difference. So today I will recap a little bit of of angel investing and the characteristics of the angel market, why angel investing is relevant, the types of angels, also the mechanisms that we here I say about what is an angel fund, what is a network, what is a syndicate, and some tips to be an angel and to set up a syndicate, and also some common errors angels should avoid. So, do you know that's hard to imagine the world without Google, Spotify, Airbnb, all of these giants? And this that changed the way how we communicate, how we live today. And this was possible because there were angel investors that supported these small startups in the beginning that later were transformed in big corporates. And that happens because of that, because there were some people that believed it on an idea, sometimes on person that were not yet proven. And this is what we do. We are dream makers in a certain way of the beliefs of the people. And this thing happened in Broadway in the beginning with the theater angels that were the first angels that supported the theaters, and they put some money up front in order to guarantee that the theater schools roll on. And the first time that the word angel investor appeared, it was in a slang dictionary in America, precisely related with this theater production as someone that was a kind of patron, someone who has the poses, the means, the possesses, the means, meaning the money also, and the inclination to stand by someone. That's a really interesting beginning of the essence about angel investing. So, and it's interesting in a very future, you already have that in a previous session, but you see, what I want to see here is that angel investing is not yet a big industry. So we can say that the first time the term business angel was coined, it was in 1983 by an academic of America, Mr. Wetzel. And what it's interesting to see on this graphic, that is an evolution. So you can see the IBAN here, you can see the FIBAN, and the other association, some moments, the .com, the appearing of the Y Combinator, the Founder Institute, the crowdfunding appearing in this timeline, and also some transformations of the people, also of the angels, discovering why they were angels, and in beginning sometimes investing alone, after discovering the power of groups, so a little bit later on, and also coming to angel funds. So this always it was happening on the last years. And I want to give you also these trends that are characterizing the angel market. So there is an evolution. Angels were initially investing alone. They were majoritarily solo angels, picking up some certain opportunities. And with the angel organization, they become to associate themselves. And this is a trend that is now more common today, that angels invest in groups of people. And also, another interesting characteristic is that angels, firstly, invested in a small number of startups, one startup here or another there. But now, also with evolution, there is the perspective, the idea to invest more in a portfolio. So in a certain number of startups, maybe it's better to put by diversification a small amount, a smaller amount in many different startups, then eventually put all the money in one startup. And this is based on the theory of the diversification, the portfolio theory, that you have more chances to have to win if you diversify your investments. Oh, but we can say that for many of the business angels invest in a startup, the dream may be, okay, maybe I will invest in a big in this startup, small startup will become a big unicorn. That will be amazing. And sometimes this happens, but it's not the rule. It's not even what happens with the majority of, with larger majority of the angels. But sometimes it happens, that's right. And this is a common case that happened. So a check of the first checks on Airbnb, someone that invested in the beginning of Airbnb when the startup went to the Y Combinator, 11 years later, they receive more than 100 million, only because they invested 20,000 euros. But as I said, it's the reality for those that want to become angel investors. The majority of the investments of the angels fail. the majority of the startups fail. But what we say that's those that succeed normally compensate the others that fail. That's why we said before that it's important to invest in portfolios, and later on we will also see how that is also important. So you know already that in the world maybe we are very close to 1 million angels worldwide. So the numbers, more exact numbers we have from Europe and from United States, around close to 300,000 of angels. And but in the world we are a lot of people that do this type of professional or activity. Let's say that sometimes it's not a professional. People are not full professionals or dedicated full time to this activity, but still there are a lot of formal and informal investors. And this is some data that probably you already have from the previous session. So I will go through these. Some areas that are more that invested preferred in 2003. In this graphic, we can see that major part of the angels invest around 30K with an average investment by the network per year in 3 million euros. So the network is that associations that congregate different angels. Normally, they are not for-profit organizations, but they have someone there to try to help and to find and identify the startups and also generate the dynamics. And the average investment is around 200K. So this are common numbers for Europe. And it's important to understand, yes, that business angels, why these business angels are important in terms of the amount of money they contribute to the early stage. And I want to come to this also for you to understand why business angels are important and what I am doing, what the networks are doing, and eventually what you pretend to do or now or in the future is relevant. And I put here 5 important reasons. So first, business angels are the main contributors to early stage. So meaning after family, fools and friends, so what we call after the love money, the business angel is that person that put money in someone that's outside their family. And joining all of these, the early stage, so the startups, the companies, the SMEs that are created, that exist because there are someone that support them. And in terms of the value, the amount of money that we put in early stage, it's considerable higher compared with other sources of investment, with banks, compared with, because banks normally also don't put money in startups like we put. It's another type of financing. So they need guarantees and we don't need guarantees. The guarantees that we have is because we believe in the project and in the people. Of course, we need to try to dilute the risk, but we don't have the same type of guarantee. So that's why we are also so important to early stage, and also to contribute to innovation. And so the disruptive innovation and the startups that I shared here in the beginning, that change their sectors, that really make a difference, exist because angels put money on innovation. So innovation is a fundamental variable because people want to be investors. They want to support innovation. They want to make the world different through innovation. A third reason, it's because angels and startups, and the startups the angels invest, create jobs and create local development. And this is also very important. This is important to develop a society, to develop a country, to develop a region. And this is some of the reasons why also angels want to be angels. I want to develop my country. I want to develop my region. So I want to put some money. I will put some money in some startups that are connected with my in my region. So it's very common. Another, it's to empower entrepreneurship, and this is also very relevant. To empower and to make people, to create a culture of developing entrepreneurship. And finally, to create hope in society. And I really believe on this. I really believe that entrepreneurship can change the mentalities, can create hope, can fix talent in a country. And that's why I'm a supporter of and created an initiative also that is Angels for Ukraine, because I think one way that we have to contribute to Ukraine is also to help to maintain the entrepreneurial spirit, because the entrepreneurial spirit is a very strong is very strong on the hope, on the creation of hope, and also on entrepreneurs and dictatorship do not join. So because entrepreneurs like autonomy, entrepreneurs like to have initiative, and dictatorships does not want people to have initiative. They don't let them autonomy. So when we are angels, we are also participating in the process of creating a better world, a free world. And that's why also I'm supporting this initiative. And I believe that angels and entrepreneurs can really do a great job to maintain the entrepreneurial spirit in Ukraine. So I typically, I'm going to a business angel definition. It's okay. We know that normally are high net worth individuals. One difference from, for example, venture capital is that they make their own decisions and they invest their own money. So this is different from a venture capital. The angel put their own money and make their investment decision. It's not delegating in someone. And put the money in businesses that they don't have family connection. And normally, another important point is they maintain an active involvement in the business. So they are involved, they try to help the business, they participate, they advise, they do networking. So this part of the involvement is something really also important. It's also different from the venture capital world where you put the money there in a startup, but after some years later, you will receive the money back, but it's not supposed to contribute or to have an active role. That's the role of the business angels. And there are many, many reasons for you to be an angel. This in the angel literature, there are identified more than 50 different types of reasons or nominations about angels. So you can see the diversity. And this is a question that you need to do. I am an angel, why? I'm going to be an angel because I'm here for money. I'm here for purpose. I'm here on a mix of these two, more for the money, more for the purpose. Where am I? it's not a question of right and wrong. It's these people normally define their approach, their investment thesis, their plan, right? So, and here also you can see the it's a graphic that's from a research that that says the main reasons why angels invest. And from 800 reasons, look, some maybe you are not aware of this, but this is really important. So to support innovation, it's one of the main reasons. To develop oneself, so to be a better investor, develop myself, to learn how to become a better investor. Look, to make money on this, it's the third level of the third most important reason to make money. But before that, you have to support innovation, to develop oneself, to increase one's self-respect. I like to be an angel because I'm contributing. I like to mentor entrepreneurs. So this is the type of thing angels invest. Normally, we also in research we identify this type of fundamental dimensions, different dimensions, and you can have one of them or a mix of several of them. Altruism, economic, STEAM, emotional, entrepreneurial, and convenience. And does it mean that you can have your purpose? You can see angel investing as a game. You can see it's important for personal growth. You can see it because it's fun activity, and also because it's some strategic movement that you are doing with contributing to develop innovation, for example. But one thing that it's important to understand, it's when we invest in a startup, we create value for both sides, the angel and the entrepreneur. But it's also important to understand that the dynamic of the value must be led by the entrepreneur. So he's the leader. The entrepreneur is the leader of the value creation. And we can see that the angel is a co-creator of value. But being part of a startup, investing in a startup, it must be important for both sides. And it's important for the entrepreneur to understand that, and also for the angel, and create conditions to this to go ahead. So how people see their angel work. So there is a work behind the angel activity, and some people see this as an hobby. Some people see this, so if it is a hobby, they want emotional things behind, go to a party with entrepreneurs, contact with young people. If they look at it to earn money, of course, they need money. They are money driven. They need more liquidity. They want economic value. So they want to guarantee that the startups are growing. And this is important to give that feedback, to see they are contributing, but also creating the value, measurable value. If they see this like a career, they can see that your evolution in a career of investor, becoming a better investor, even if you are in a corporate side. Or you can see like a calling. Oh, I am done my career. I have my life. That's okay. Now I want to contribute. I want to contribute to society. I want to create some hope in society through angel investing. So now let's talk about this angel, some fundamental mechanisms of how you can do your activity. So you can do the activity of angel alone. I begin angel investing alone. After I sold my company, I begin alone. But this is not, to begin, this is not a good advice that I give to you. So it's better to you become the activity with people. And I don't advise, because there are common mistakes that we do when we're investing alone. And after I will talk about it. Being an angel, participating in an angel syndicate. So a syndicate, it's more, it's an association of a group of people that decide to invest in a certain deal, So it's something more punctual, to syndicate for that specific opportunity, that specific startup. When we do an angel vehicle, normally you do it with some friends. Sometimes it's a little bit more stable than a syndicate, that you pick up some deals with some persons and other deal with other persons. And angel fund it's more stable aspect. So in an angel fund, the idea is that you invest in a portfolio. Here in this mechanism comparison, we can see the different mechanisms that we have today and some of the difference. So the solo angel, it's more an individualistic experience. It's more suitable for experienced angels. If you are an amateur angel or a hobbyist, then it's better to not do it alone, because you are going to lose money. And it needs time and larger amounts of money. If you do it alone, it's a more autonomous, so you can decide by your own completely, and you need to be more involved in the ecosystem. Otherwise, you are going to lose your opportunities. So that's some of the reasons why it's not so good to begin alone. In an angel syndicate, you go normally deal by deal. So there in the syndicates, more people involved, and some of them decide to invest in a certain startup. Of course, there is also in the syndicates some space for what we call tourist angels, angels that go there but never invest, just they go there for fun, for the people that are there, and passing opportunities and don't invest. But it's good for networking and to know, interact with other people. Maybe it's less costly, because in some syndicates you pay the fees, annual fees. Other syndicates don't have this type of fees, but it's a thing more for the short term. An angel vehicle, okay, the idea is to create a small portfolio with a group of friends. That's more a thing that you do in a small group. People also need to be experienced, and they need to have some time available. It's more a medium long-term compromise with a certain number of people. And an angel fund, it's more the idea to invest in a large portfolio, so more than 25, 30 startups, so a portfolio. And this is where you have more chances to statistically, of course, if you are lucky enough to invest in one very good startup, statistics are what they are, and you can be better than the common statistics. But globally, in the movement in all over the angel world, the returns of these angel funds are better than normally when you invest alone. And this is more a group decision. You participate in the decision, but you are not the only responsible. It's networking, professionalism also, but it's more a medium long-term journey to create a portfolio. So you need to have some time to create a portfolio. And these are some of the outcomes that's interesting maybe to understand, that typically individual angel investors, when they earn money, and these statistics has some problems, because sometimes angels don't say about their losses, they say about their victories. But it's important to understand that angel investing is not only of gains. It's also on the realistics and the reality shows that Angel groups typically is an average of investing in group of 25% IRR, and also related with portfolios. And this is quite interesting, but this is about being more professional on angel investing. This is the type of returns that we have in some groups. For example, the 25% is something that is coming related by in a study of angel groups in Finland, for example. That's the average. Also in the United States are a little bit higher in some groups. So statistically, we can reach this type of outcomes when we invest in a substantial portfolio. Now, let me give some tips to be an angel or to set up an angel syndicate or fund. So be the game changer in someone's life. This is, be aware of that. When you are an angel investor, maybe you are changing the life of the entrepreneur, because you are the first to believe. So believe in the unbelievable is to see the potential. It's maybe the potential is not yet there, but you as an angel, you can understand the potential of an opportunity and help and also see the potential that the founder understands and see, and the majority of the people don't see, but the angel can have the intuition that that thing will be possible. So you need to trust in the untrustable, because normally entrepreneurs have not yet done every proof, and sometimes we are in investing very early stage in the validation process. But even if we trust in something that does not exist in the very early stage, that's what we do, but we should minimize the risk. And so we need to help the entrepreneur to minimize the risk, because we can give our advice. So there are some strategies also that we can do to minimize that risk. Another tip, give them also the responsibility. So it's not just about our support or our control, what they do with our money, but it's also where they can go with their talent, where their intuition, with our money together, and also with our advice. So there are some types of angels that want to control, and sometimes there are conflicts in the relationship between angels and entrepreneurs. And so try to understand and put yourself in a position that you are co-creators of value more than controllers. This does not mean that you don't have in your contract some clauses to put some red lines of things that can be done or not with your money. So be prepared to fail, and also prepare the entrepreneurs to fail. One thing that we say, it's if the startups need to fail, try to fail fast and cheaper as possible. So if we think the team is not working, the startup is not working, sometimes angels put more money to see if that thing goes on, but you need to be realistic and logic, and okay, understand if you are in a position that if you need to fail, is this a failure, or are you putting money in something that we will not no future? There is the possibility to not all the startups succeed. The normal is to fail. So be aware if you put more money in something that is really going to fail. And also prepare them to win, because sometimes they are not prepared. The entrepreneurs also are not prepared to grow. And this is something relevant. And angel investing is also about this, to being involved. So you need alignment with the thesis of the startup, alignment with the entrepreneur, and also you need to dedicate some time. And this is really important too. And also what I said, co-create value. but something that should be visible on the startups. That your contributions, when you say that you are contribution, be effective on that contribution. Open the market, introduce new clients, give good advices on contracting, help them on making the good decision, create value. And protect your investments is also help them on protecting that. That's about protecting the business, trying to guarantee that they learn. Sometimes they have you need to contract a lawyer and to secure your intellectual property and other aspects, and work on early exits. This is also interesting for you to understand that from the beginning we need to prepare an exit. Some people think angel investing is about investing, but also angel investing is about exiting, and this is something that we need to work more. For you to have an idea of
we're running a little bit out of time, so I just wanted to make sure that we wrap it up.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will. So so it's we have an average of 3.2 multiples in terms of our exits. It's important to work on them. And the majority of our startups have so a few of them as multiples of 30 times, and the majority of our portfolios is less than 1 time, or we lose money. So it's important to understand this and to be involved, as I said. So now finally, with some very fast errors that we should avoid. Overconfidence. This is something that we do normally when we are successful. Second, we are too over-optimistic on analyzing some of the startups. Third, we think angel investing is easy, and we undervalue time and effort. 4, investing is like a marriage. No, investing is more like a happy planned divorce. So try to exit earlier. Our influence of the angels is diminuting. It's not growing under time. So it's going contrarily. And investing in companies that are not attractive to future buyers. So we need to understand, or they are differentiators on technology, people, or in the market. But also a common mistake, delegate angel strategy in later investors, in VCs. Later, no, we need to have an active approach on that. And we believe that going later, we increase our potential of returns. It's not always true. And making exit strategy with founders without alignment with founders. So the power of our relationship with the founders, it's great. So we need to align and be having very good relations with the founders. And as I said, the 9s, continue to invest to save the company. It's another error. Don't do it. So also bypass the early exits. It's not good. So try to exit early. Always from the beginning, there are possibilities for exit. We need to work more on that. And finally, that's my final advice, and I close here. Be an angel with a plan. So think on this activity, define your investment thesis, and look for someone to help on a training, or join a syndicate, or join an angel fund. But don't, if you are beginning, don't do this alone. Thank you very much. I have you to contribute to you. Thank you.
That was excellent, Rui. Thank you so much. It's a lot of experience there, and from reasons to be an angel to how to become an angel, and then 10 do's or don't do's. So thank you for that. I'm going to now call our next guest, who's John Phelan, who is former director of Ireland's Angel Network. So it's the name of it is called Halo Business Angel Network, and he will tell us a little bit about how they went from having 0 to 33 million investment in startups a year in this session. So if I call on now Rui, and if you could please turn off your camera, sorry, Rui, and call on John at the moment. John, are you there?
I am indeed. Hey, Clara, how are you?
Great. Thank you so much for coming over. I'll leave the floor to you now.
Perfect. Do you want me to pull up my slides, or have you got slides there?
Yes, if that's okay.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rui. Well done. Bear with me 1 second while I go full screen. Morning, folks. How are you all doing? Hope you're all good. Rui gave a good understanding and overview of why we do business angel investing. And I suppose we're just going to share our experience of setting up an angel network in Ireland. So I'm John Phelan, the investment manager, and we're just going to have a quick chat about the evolution of angel investing in Ireland. So I suppose just to give you some background, we started HBAN in 2007. In those days, we literally had no investment or no qualified angel investing in Ireland. Nobody understood what it was. There was a lot of education had to happen. There was a lot of informal investing, I would say, happening, but no formal investing. So in 2007, what was set up was an umbrella organization to help create and promote angel investing in Ireland. And what we became was a trusted network for business angels on the island of Ireland. And what we weren't, and we were quite clear on this, is that we weren't a seed fund, we weren't a corporate finance house, we weren't a centre for advice. And what we did was we brought deals to the table. So as Clara said, the growth of HBAN over the years is probably best told by this slide here. If you look at 2007, we had €1 million was invested in a number of companies. I remember sitting around tables, and it was like being in a startup is the reality, because nobody knew what existed. Nobody could tell where it was going to end up. But we had the vision that we would get to 10 million over 10 years, and that will be a great return. And what we had was I do remember sitting in a room where we had 3 companies presenting, and the 3 companies were presenting propositions and opportunities that, frankly, we weren't sure that they would ever succeed. And on the other side of the table, we had a number of angel investors who we weren't sure would ever actually invest money. So you do have to have that hustle that needs to happen to make deals happen at the very start. It's a bit like doing a startup. You've got to build that momentum as you go. Over the years, we developed a number of different syndicates, and I'll come to that in a minute, around the country, but also internationally, and that helped. You can see there's dips here in terms of, in some years, there was a bit less investment going in. That typically happened around a financial crisis. And then you can see we grew the angel investing to 33 million in 2022. So overall, it was over 178 million was invested. So it was a phenomenal success for the Irish economy. And to give you a context of who we are, how we presented ourselves, was that we are a dating agency. And I think that was the easiest way for people to understand the concept. And Rui explained it very well earlier on, in terms of that dating agency is we being on the one side is well qualified opportunities and deals. But on the other side, we had a well qualified managed angel investors. But we created a managed service for that, which allowed angels to professionalize how they were investing. The marriage with a planned divorce is quite important, and Rui mentioned it earlier on. You are going to marry your entrepreneur, but you do want to see the exit, and that is the planned divorce piece. So in terms of how we scaled the network in Ireland, We had a number of partners around Ireland, including Axis BIC, including West BIC, and including Propeller BICs down south, southeast, and up in Belfast as well. So we had a number of partners who all came together to create this. And what we had was a number of different all-island syndicates. And you can see them here on the left, some of which were generalist technology, but some were very specific to specific sectors. So, for example, we had a food syndicate. We had a medtech syndicate, which were phenomenally successful and have grown to be a big investor in early stage medical devices companies on the island of Ireland. And then we had a number of different networks, which included Axis BIC down in south of Ireland. What we also set up, which was quite interesting, is we tapped into the diaspora from different Irish companies or different Irish individuals who lived in San Francisco or lived in New York or lived in London, Dubai, and Singapore. And we created syndicates around them so that they could actually invest or co-invest with some of our syndicates in Ireland. And that became a real interesting way of investing. So to give you some idea of the stats, which is always the interesting bit. So in 2022, we had 770 deals were completed. 177 million had been invested from the HBAN network itself. But what that attracted, and Rui alluded to it earlier on, was external investment that came in at the same time. So 387 million other investments came through. So we're talking about close on 600 million was invested in total. The interesting bit, though, it was around the average deal size. The average angel investment per deal is about 255K. But the median invested per individual was around $25,000 or 25,000 euros. And that was pretty consistent with what we were seeing throughout Europe and throughout the United States. 72% invested 50K or less. So I think they're kind of important stats. In terms of the sectors that they invested in, ICT was 54%. And ICT is generally enterprise SaaS, I would say. We also had quite a large medtech and life sciences, which is 23%. And then we had all sorts of everything else beyond that. So how do syndicates work? There's a complexity required when you get beyond, and Rui again mentioned earlier on, where you have individuals who invest. We were focused on setting up syndicates. And the syndicates require quite a structure behind them so that everybody understands how they work. So we created what was called a syndicate charter. That syndicate charter was then signed by members, and that sets out the rules of engagement between all the members and how they engage with companies and how they move forward. There's a number of key roles within the syndicates. So the syndicate chair, and I'd say the syndicate chair is really important. We made a deliberate effort to identify syndicate chairs who we felt would embody the values of what we were trying to achieve, which was to create a group that would invest and give more than just money, but would give their experience and add leverage to the capabilities of the company itself. So we went for chairs who were comfortable and confident in themselves. There was no egos involved. They didn't have to be the brand that stand out. And we went quite deliberately that way. The syndicate support is all the administration that's required. And I can't underestimate, or you shouldn't underestimate, the amount of support that is required for the administration. And that administration allows you to keep up to date on all the compliance requirements. And there are quite a lot of compliance pieces around accounts, filings, follow-on deals, things like deeds of authority, nominee structures. There's a huge amount of administration required in that. You shouldn't underestimate that. Deal leads are really important within a syndicate. And the way we defined the deal leads is that we had a commercial deal lead who would look into the commercial potential of the opportunity, but also we had technical deal leads who looked at the technology that was being provided. And our rationale was that within syndicates, you had a lot of people who built up trust over the years with each other. And while they may not quite understand the opportunity in front of them, typically somebody in the room knew whether there was an opportunity there or not. So they were able to bring with them other members of the syndicate to confidently invest that they were going to add value and capital. So the syndicate members' roles was they would sit in with us to understand what the deal flow would look like. So if you think about it, we would get 700 applications a year into HBAN, and we would bring that down to about 120 to 150 deals that we would present to the wider network. And they were determined by the members themselves in terms of what types of deals they wanted to see. We determined the baseline parameters of those deals in terms of what stages of development would we bring companies in. Were they pre-revenue? Were they revenue generating? Were they going for a Series A? Were they going for a bridging round? Or were they looking to exit? So having that mix is quite important. And the members' roles, each syndicate was quite different. They were all quite unique, and they all developed and evolved over time. So I would say, don't be too prescriptive going in. Know there's a framework that you need to put in place, but let it evolve at its own pace as well. Bring the right people with you, but let it evolve. But also identify what the requirements are for each of the members and how they should be dealing with leads. The investments themselves, members considered the investment opportunities, and if they were interested, they pulled the money. What we did was create syndicate agreements and invest through a nominee vehicle structure. And for those of you who may not be familiar with nominee vehicles, on the cap table, if you have 100 private investors coming in from the syndicate, they would all mess up the cap table. So what you do is you create a special purpose vehicle, for want of a better term, where they would all sit within that special purpose vehicle. And within that, then you just have one entity that's on the cap table. But you also only have one person representing that group on the cap table. And that cleans it all up for everybody. So how did it work? So it was fairly straightforward. We'd be fairly consistent with a lot of other angel groups and syndicates around Europe. So it was a pitch, typically a 10-minute pitch followed by a 10-minute Q&A, and then a 10-minute discussion. And then the chair would ask for a show of interest and the qualified of interest. After that, we do a follow back, which is a 1 to 2 hour deep dive with the company itself, going deep into the business plan, the financials, Q&A, deal leads appointed at that stage. And then we go into formal due diligence, which is a review of the data agreement, the data room, completion of a DD questionnaire and DD report, which is quite detailed. And then we'd share and discuss it with the group. Then it goes to legals. And within legals, we would have the engagement with the syndicate, the legal representative who's looking after the nominee, and they would prepare the term sheet. They would also work with the company to negotiate the deal. The syndicate agreement part itself is quite a straightforward sort of document. And then the signing of the syndicate agreement before the legals close out. So I think one of the things that Clara did ask me to touch on was 3 lessons that we would have experienced, I suppose, over the time. One of them I mentioned earlier on, which was the, sorry, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. Hopefully that helps now. So one of the things we would say is bringing in an experienced chair is really important. Having that person who is doing it for the right reasons, not for their own brand and not for their own ego, I think is quite important. Having the infrastructure in place in terms of the nominees, how those nominees are set up, but also the syndicate charter. So there's a lot of documentation that people need to sign up to. And what it does is it sets out a code of conduct and an infrastructure of how it should all work. And thirdly, I think is don't underestimate the amount of administration required. The first year or two, it's easy. But once you start getting into large volumes of deals being closed with large volumes of individuals, and I'll give you an example. In 2022, when we had 33 million invested, we had 700 checks, individual checks written for that 33 million. And of that, there was about 300 people involved. So we had multiple people investing multiple checks into multiple different companies. But managing that and maintaining that does take a lot of administration and does take a lot of resources. So Clara, I'm conscious that we're trying to bring you closer back to time. I don't know if I have, or if you have any questions for me.
No, thank you so much, John. That's great. I mean, you made great points as well in terms of don't estimate the level of trust that needs to be created within the networks and syndicates. And in order to become successful, the lead, having a really strong lead and into ID the requirements, but still remain flexible. So thank you for that. This is great. And I appreciate your time. We're a little bit short of time, so we'll take questions in on the question box, but we will move forward with the next presenter.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Good luck with everything. Thanks,
Cheers,
Larry.
John. Cheers, John. Good to see you. And myself and John soldiered together on the HBAN network for a number of years. So it was a really interesting journey and a very rewarding one to be involved in, watching that network grow to what was a really big impact in Ireland, and culminating in a big number in 2022. So we're going to,
Larry, well done. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, John. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper. I mentioned the Boole Investment Syndicate. John mentioned it there as well. It was one of the first syndicates that was set up in Ireland, set up around 2012. It's gone through, over the last 12 months, it's gone through a real transition. It's moved very much from what was a large and successful syndicate, but was still operating on a non-fee paying basis. So what we would call an informal structure. It was leaning very much on the angel investors within that syndicate to do a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of the administration and the executing the deals. So at the end of last year, start of this year, we took on Donna Kiernan. The Boole Syndicate took on Donna Kiernan as a managing director. And Donna's been part of the leadership team that has brought Boole from being this non-fee paying informal syndicate into a formal membership model that takes fees from members and uses those fees to take away then the administration overhead. And just leaves the angels focus on what I believe their USP is, and that's to bring cash and bring expertise to the startups. So Donna, good morning. I ask you to turn on your camera and pop in, and I'll hand over the floor to yourself.
Thanks, Larry. Hopefully you can see me okay.
Yeah, we're seeing you fine today.
Excellent. So I will share my screen. And so well done, John. Well done, Rui. I think it gives a very clear background and where all this came from and where Boole came from. Am I sharing the right screen?
Yeah, I'm seeing that tonight.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so with the background of the Halo kind of business angel network, right? And I'm going to go through a bit on the background on Boole as well, but a bit of background on myself, right? So I know Larry and Access BIC in many years, and we work together in sort of trade organizations. And kind of John and Larry mentioned kind of Seamus Ivers, who's the chair of the Boole. So I've been working with Seamus in over 30 years in various ventures and in interest in the industry, we'll say, in the region, in Southern Ireland mostly. I've been also involved in other sort of trade organizations around Ireland. So I'm always very active in the industry. So it was about this time last year that Seamus approached me and asked me would I be interested in coming in and effectively managing the Boole Investment Syndicate. And given sort of our trust, kind of our relationships and kind of the relationship with Larry and Access BIC as well. So it felt very comfortable for me investigate and look into what a model might make sense. So kind of with that kind of with over sort of again this time last year, October, November, December, we started looking into kind of what the structure might be. And I want to go through kind of what we've come up with so far, kind of and where we see this going. Now it's and John, well done. Kind of I met John as well. And we talked over lots of things when I was getting on this journey. Kind of and there's a lot of very strong background on this that we were building on, and a lot of hard lessons, no doubt, that was learned through the years that we didn't want to kind of make those mistakes again. So, and building what some of the things that Rui said, sort of this comment here is building it's about building a community of investors, and core to a community is trust. So we're building an organization that's based on trust, based on transparency and how we operate and people's intentions kind of in their investing and what they're interested in and so on. So I'm going to bring up my points here, right? As a bit of a background, so Boole, 2013, Larry, kind of was founded, kind of, and in that, kind of bringing together over the years, 12 million investments in over 50 companies and 9 exits so far. And similar to what Rui's numbers mentioned there, kind of about 10x coming out of those. So there was a return in those, and many of those companies that are invested in, many of those are still very active and not gone. They may not turn into 10x, but they're still there somehow. The focus of Boole over the years, kind of, yes, ICT, medical device, life sciences. From what I'm seeing, a lot of medical devices, a lot of life sciences, not enough ICT from my background. I'm a techie by background. My network is all techie. So kind of we're trying to bring more of a flavour and more investments in ICT. Over the years, Boole has maintained a group of 30 to 50 angels. And some new ones come in, other ones move on kind of for their own reasons. About 2 years ago now, was HBAN changed. The funding structure changed in Ireland, and the whole evaluation network and the management network was no longer going to be funded in the same way. Okay, so this meant that the structure that Boole was operating on was changed, and the HBAN, as it currently exists, kind of doesn't have the same structure we were interested in, right? So Boole wanted to be able to have a very clear vetting and advisory process for the companies coming through, and Axis BIC provide that for Boole. But in this kind of, we could no longer rely on voluntary efforts. We had to come up with some funded model. So we had to come in as some self-sustainable approach to do this. So this is what we come up with. We seem to be going the right path. We still have things to do and want to build on what we're doing. We put it to the board, or to put it to what was the operating membership, we want to call them that, of Boole, December last year. And we secured a agreement to progress. We secured 22 initial paying members into that model, kind of, and I'll go through some of the detail in a second. We set out quarterly meetings, pitch meetings, 4 hours long at the end of each quarter. And that's where we want to get 5 to 6 companies coming in and pitching in front of the angels in a meeting room in the building where I'm based here at the moment, in the NSC campus in Southern Ireland. So very actively working with Larry and the team and Axis BIC, who are vetting the projects, bringing sort of those very investable pitches to the table, and sort of, and be able to have a strong pipeline of new kind of pitches coming through. We wanted to establish a rhythm of clear reporting, kind of people know where the investments are, people know sort of what's happening, kind of, and be able to understand the timeline and needs of those companies that have been invested in. We talked about growing the network to an optimal size. We feel that's about 50, and that's what we're heading towards. But kind of, we have work to get to that point. So we're not trying to push it really quickly. We're just growing at an incremental pace. We wanted to set up a model that was financially lean. So we want to keep the costs low, transaction costs low, investment costs low, and kind of in that, kind of, that meant a number of things. Compliance and governance. John went through a lot of detail there, what was necessary. We tried to just do that. try to automate that as much as possible, simplify and automate as much as possible, and remove the pain from the members, the angel investors, as much as possible in that process. So some key points. Boole was set up as a CLG, Company Limited by Guarantee, a not-for-profit organisation. And we had a lot of discussion on this point and whether it should be a limited company with equity investors and holders, or should it be a not-for-profit. We looked at a lot of stories across Europe and what worked out well and why. We settled on the not-for-profit because it's there for the members. And that was the simple focus. It could never be accused of being there for the equity holders of a limited company. So Boole is effectively owned by its members. So there's no equity ownership. We have a subsidiary of a nominee company, and as John pointed out, all the investment from the angels goes into that nominee company, and we show as a single line, single shareholder on the investees. So all the money comes in, there's a syndicate agreement that wraps that up, and single transaction into the investee companies when the investment closes. Low cost operations meant a number of things. We want to streamline the processes. We want to learn from the past, get all the documentation standardized, and we want to digitize everything. So one of the things we had to work out with our lawyers on, no more printing off agreements and wetting signatures. We want everything on a DocuSign platform is what we use. And in that, it was much faster, much easier to get signatures on documents, syndicate agreements and such, and without waiting for people, and no more faxing or printing off documents. Personalization, what does that mean? We don't want to rely on a voluntary effort. So D-leads had enormous responsibilities. In some cases, chasing down the money, chasing down to getting documents signed, and it was a lot of effort. It was an enormous voluntary expectation on those people. We have greatly changed that. So effectively, it's my job to get all that stuff and chase people. And the deal lead effectively is the representative of the group. And we want to minimize their job so they can focus on what they're really there for. That's the core expertise in any due diligence. Somewhat communication then with the investee companies, but also representation of the syndicate in that investment. It's my job to drive the process. So in that we want to, all angels, outline clearly what's the process, what's their responsibilities at every step. And I shouldn't have to be chasing the angels to get stuff done because they're here for a reason. And we just want to make that happen as smoothly and as quickly as possible. And then drive growth. So it's my job to drive growth of the angel network in particular. Make it easy for investors. So as John went through, there's a lot of very critical legal and compliance documentation is needed every step on the way. We want to minimize the effort and exposure of investors on that and make sure that that's taken care of properly. And we're still working through that. Our syndicate agreements, they operate pretty standard. Everyone knows what to look for. We know what to ask people to check their own details and so on. And we try to keep that standard all the time. The other thing that we want all our members to buy into is we want to make it easy for the investee companies. These founders, the business promoters looking for investment, they have a tough job. And we're very, very supportive of them. When they come into the room, the questions we ask, it's encouraging. We want to ask questions that's relevant. Do we want to invest? But we want to give them feedback that they can learn and develop in what they're doing. And we want to give them an answer on their investment request as fast as possible. We're trying to work through a process that we can give them an answer within 3 to 4 weeks. And sometimes it's difficult to do that, but that's what we're working towards. And with the constant communication and where they stand. If there's little interest in a particular project, we give the feedback very quickly so that they know that we can support them. The model is we have a membership fee. It's an annual fee, and then we got transaction fees, and we're working to keep that as low as possible. So, but yes, we want to make sure that the organization is sustainable. It's not for profit. It needs to be financially sustainable. And that's the balance that we're still working out, I would say. This is a slide that we presented to the members when we started in January in this current iteration. So we want the angels to focus on investing. So they need to turn up. How do we make their jobs as easy as possible and not have to worry about all the other details that's just been taken care of from them? We're going to minimize their effort on project selection. So we really talked about the value of coming into and working with a syndicate is the projects are just there. They're brought in by the expertise of Axis BIC, and every project that comes into the room is investable. They are good pitches, well prepared. The companies have progress. They've got other commitments on investments. So Boole is rarely the lead investor. We're typically a smaller follower in maybe 3 or 4 or more investors coming into that particular organization. And a lot of the companies that come into the room, they have lots of track record in other investments going in there. So there's a lot of proof. And we want to support new angels coming in and give them guidance on that. So we have a lot of expertise within the group already. People are happy to share their expertise. So Seamus, who was in the last session, is very supportive of new Booles with his expertise, but we've got many others in the group who are sharing their knowledge on how to get started and then how to build to being experienced angels. The network's very important, and the networking is very important. People learning from each other. Really went through many reasons why people do this. I see a sense of community and people wanting belonging into that group is a huge part of that. That's what's up here. We're targeting people from many scenarios. Some people have exits. Some people are operating their own business. Some people they're still in corporate jobs. So there's backgrounds and types from all sectors and all work lifestyles, you could say. We do accept people putting in sort of minimum of 20K a year. Maybe that could be 4 or 5 investments in the year. But yes, we've got people putting in larger amounts and maybe 3 or 4, 10, 20Ks each quarter. So there's a broad mix, and we're trying to grow that network to make that happen. Conscious of time, happy to talk through this. I suppose HBAN in the past, it did impose that Boole was very much operating in this region and projects from this region. Boole now operating independently, we're broadening that scope. We can take investments from anywhere. We have angels that don't have to be from the region. But building a like-minded network of like-minded individuals located anywhere. And I'll talk through some of that. I won't go into this in large detail. I might just talk about some of the changes to be brought through it. We have a very tight process. We want all our members to understand the process very clearly and to be able to operate that rhythm and constantly looking at making it more effective, easier for everybody. So we have our pitch meetings. So that's face-to-face to people in a room, but also it's online. And then we recently started recording to people who can't attend. And even with the recordings, people who attended were able to review back and be able to decide again other things they wanted answered. That's the pitch meeting. People ask questions to figure out whether they're interested or not and keep it very focused. Again, the model that John outlined, it's 20 minutes. So they're pitching for 10 minutes Q&A, and then each angel can ask questions to figure out whether they're interested or not. And we keep that very tight. Then we go into those deep dive sessions where people can ask great questions in detail. And then following that, there could be a week or 2 of other questions over and back by email. And then we're asking investors to commit. And there's sometimes people might change their minds, but they have to have a very good reason to change their minds based on some new founding. But we want people to commit the amount they're willing to invest. And then that's effectively the offer we make to the investee company, subject to due diligence. The due diligence in our case is typically done by the lead investor, who could be sort of another angel network, or it could be other type of investors. And we work with them on the due diligence and bring in our own layer of due diligence on top of that, which is typically driven by our deal lead and supported by myself on that. Then when the investment goes in, we have a syndicate agreement. There's the investment agreements, and that can vary. The investment types can vary. It's not always equity. It could be loan note, and then the angels can also invest from different vehicles. It could be themselves personally, it could be from their company, it could be from a trust. And we allow angels to change kind of where they invest in it on every investment. And then we want to get into a quarterly reporting rhythm on that, kind of, and to be able to understand exactly how the companies are doing at each step of the way, and then building up that whole portfolio reporting side of things. So for me, I'm just getting started on this, and to give you some flavor of where we are. We have 3 investments completed, so getting going in January, first pitch session, and second ones, and it takes 3 to 6 months to close some of these investments depending on their other activity. So we have 3 investments completed. We have 4 or 5 currently in the pipeline, kind of, and we're looking to close 3 probably in the next 2 months. We have 27 members, another one committed this morning, kind of very early. And we have probably another 8 that's effective. So we're holding an overnight session, kind of with starting in the afternoon and then dinner that night, more networking. So we're looking to get the member numbers up to about 35 by the end of this year. We have membership forums, kind of asking people kind of what their interests are, what their background is, kind of, and then we're giving them some briefing on some angel investment education. Even investor journey, the last session we improved the online experience. So more people are attending online because they may be traveling or they may not be based in the region. With better camera, better lighting. And then we're recording those pitches, and we're looking at how do we summarize kind of the various pitches or opportunities easier, so people can review them easier and decide what they're interested in or not. Anti-money laundering, all the compliance related stuff that could be enormously challenging, but we're building on the experience of lots of other people who are doing this successfully. Kind of, we are kind of doing it. We want to make sure it's right for us, and we do want to automate it as much as possible in line with our process. And we do have a local Irish tech company that's donating their software, Validate Me, or donating their software to Bool. It's all about the anti-money laundering side of things to help us kind of make that work. Quarterly reporting, as mentioned, and Bool being started in 2013 with 50 plus investments, with many of the existing members who've invested in those. We're going to look at a structure of going back. How do we bring all that back into some sort of central reporting structure back as a member offer? But we have a lot of detail to work out there on how we do that. And want to grow to 50 members by the end of next year. And we're not advertising, we're not pushing that. A lot of the members are coming to us kind of from existing members by invitation and kind of from other sources. So it is kind of growing on its own. We want to do a good job for investees. We want to look after and make it easy for the angels, for the members themselves. And with that, we can grow while we build a better foundation and structure to be able to manage our own growth. We're targeting 1 investment a month. We want to increase the average, probably about 150K in each investment, and see can we lift that. Kind of other angel networks in Ireland have done that, but that means kind of more investments. So we'll have decisions to make in the future on what does that mean. But that's me. Happy to answer any questions.
Hi, Donna. Thank you so much. That was really great, especially the points you're making again about trust, moving digital, making sure that you bring visibility in the process from pitching onwards. Thank you for the details as well of what happens right after. And yeah, also that it takes about 3 to 6 months. Sometimes we don't know that it takes that long for investment to be finished or closed. I think what we'll do is if we move on a little bit, and if there's anyone with any questions, again, I'd say to put it on the chat box of the questions. But thank you so much, Anna, for presenting. I appreciate it. So yes, once again, guys, if you guys have any questions, do put it on the questions and answers box. I mean, a few came in, but there's a lot of content. There's no question that's not important, so put it there. And we're going to move now into a short break. So yeah, we'll just make it a little bit less than 10 minutes if that's okay. We'll head off for 5 minutes instead. Before you guys go, I just wanted to make sure that you know that we have these demo days coming up, which is where Ukrainian startups pitch for investment. And you have the opportunity to see the founders that are ready for being invested on. These are going to be run online. And the link is going to be on the chat box as well for you to subscribe. So save the date. They'll come back. We will come back in 5 minutes if that's okay with everyone. See you soon.
Hi again, everybody. Hope you enjoyed your break and are refueled and ready to go for the second part of our workshop here this morning. And I think we're gonna kick off the second half here with what is going to be a very interesting discussion with a group of people who have different types of experience with angel investing, different structures, different ways of looking at angel investing. But what we're going to do is focus on the kind of theme of today, and the theme of the workshop here today is how do we go to market as a syndicate or an angel and attract good companies, good investable companies, and bring those and work those through the screening process of various syndicates or angel groups or angel funds, and get them to bring them to pitch and run successful pitching events. So we're going to bring on I'm very thankful to Olena Kleiner for joining us again. Olena joined on the initial workshop to speak about her co-founding of Angels of Ukraine. So I'll ask you, Olena, to turn your camera on it and join there, as well as Rui Falco, who we saw present in the first half of this morning, and talk very much about his experience in angel investing and some incredibly interesting points there as well. And Rui's going to represent Core Angels International here on the panel this morning. And we also have Andrew Zinchuk. Andrew is the managing partner and founder of ZAS Venture Group. So he's going to share his experience with that organization. And Anna Maggiera, who is Techstars mentor from Techstars in Berlin, but also the managing director at iClub Global. So thank you very much, everybody, for being part of the panel discussion here this morning. So we have everybody here. So good morning. So for the benefits of the attendees this morning, we're going to just do a quick introduction to everybody. So we might just ask you to introduce yourself personally and the organization, the angel organization that you're our investment organization that you're representing here today. So Olena, good morning again. Great to see you again. You might start off, please.
Yeah, hello everyone, and thank you for having me here again. It's a big pleasure for me. So yeah, we are together with Rui, our partners, created the fund Angels for Ukraine, and this fund is dedicated to invest in Ukrainian startups on pre-seed and seed stages up to 300K. And we are quite a young fund, so we started this year in the summer, but take it in consideration the huge experience of Rui in angel investing, and also the experience of Core Angels. So we first introduced us to all the players in Ukrainian tech, and we managed to have 2 investment committees up to this date. And right now we're in a process of registering the fund, and hopefully till the end of the year we will announce the first investments. So happy to be here, and I wish us all a great discussion.
Absolutely, and it's wonderful to have such a new initiative completely focused on investing in Ukrainian startups, which is what this project is all about. In Seeds of Bravery. So that's fantastic. So Andrew, we might go to you next and tell us a little bit about yourself personally and all about ZAS Angels and ZAS Ventures.
Sure, Larry. Thanks for having me. Hi from San Francisco. It's quite late here. It's almost 2 a.m., but I couldn't miss the opportunity to speak and share our experience. Yeah, so myself, I'm an entrepreneur. So I did 2 circles around startup ecosystem as a founder, as an operator, and on a dark side, as I call it, on the investment side, right? So now we have, so I turned my experience, basically my latest experience was managing startup incubation program into kind of venture fund and venture syndicate. So we invest in quite unique models. So we invest all the way through pre-seed to pre-series A. So far, the smallest ticket from the syndicate was $125,000, the largest $1 million. So we kicked off the syndicate 2023 in the beginning of the year, and we also started investing from the fund the same year. So we are now one of the most active kind of venture group in Ukrainian market.
Excellent. That's great stuff, Andrew. Thanks for that. And is there a specific sector focus, or are you agnostic?
We are Ukrainian founders focused, I would say. So we are industry agnostics. We would not invest into some like deep tech, then gambling and kind of all of that stuff, crypto. So we try and to make a meaningful difference with our investments and the companies that we are trying to support.
Excellent, great stuff. And Anna, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us here on Seeds of Bravery. So you might give a bit of background to yourself. You've had a very interesting background involved in all types of incubation and acceleration with Techstars in Berlin.
Hi, hello.
And
Yes.
yeah, and iClub Global as well, obviously. So you might tell us a little bit about that, please.
Of course. Thank you for the invitation, and Clara as well. Happy to be here. Happy to see all the participants. Haven't seen some of you for a while, but know all of you, as well for some time. So happy to have this opportunity to discuss an important topic together. So I've been in venture industry for 18 years already. And started in Ukrainian ecosystem, and was part of accelerators and micro VC fund in Ukraine back then. So then I also worked in startups on an fundraising, like investment relations and business development part. And so since for 8 years, I'm based in Poland. So now I'm part of CE ecosystem as well, and have been doing different things here as well. So I've tried different funds like VC funds, private equity funds, CVC funds. So know different perspectives. As I mentioned, worked with in startups as well. So been on both sides of the table. And for last 2 years, I've been a part of iClub, which is a syndicate, right? So the Angel network, which is powered by TA Ventures, early stage fund. And in iClub, we've invested already 50 million across 85 portfolio companies. And we have been lucky to have 9 exits already, with generating 15 million of returns to our members. This year, what is important milestone for us, we became a digital product. So we launched an app, and now we are kind of a fintech product, and we are also shifting a bit the strategy and go to market and all the processes within. That's a challenging and interesting story. Yeah, so I'm really now enjoying working with angel investors, because that's a new type for me, but very interesting and very insightful. Yeah, that's my background.
Excellent, Anna. Thank you so much. Great to see that kind of evolution to a fully digital platform now, and kind of interesting to go. I think it can be quite common to go from angel, move more towards VC, and even onto private equity. So kind of interesting that you've made the opposite journey. So you've kind of come back to your roots again, which is quite interesting. So great to have you on board. Rui, I think we've already met you this morning, but I'd like to, for anyone that joined late, maybe introduce yourself quickly again and focus maybe a little bit on Core Angels International and what that group is.
Okay, thank you, Larry. So Core Angels is today a community of angel funds. So now we have we believe in angel segmentation. So that's we also have different segments. So we have climate, we have food. So this is one way of segment angels. But we are a little bit around the world. So we are now 14 angel groups working with the same platform, with the same processes, and it's easy for us to co-invest, to cross-border, because we have some standards and some organization that put us all together. That's why. And because of that, we also encourage new angel funds. We are a little bit different from the normal syndicates because we are more on the structure of a medium long-term investment in portfolios. And one thing that we created is a program for angel leaders. So we have a program for those that want to create an angel fund with us. We have a process like an acceleration program for startups. We have an acceleration program for angels where we give the people that want to become leaders the possibility to learn with us and be our partners, co-invest with us in a new fund. So in a sense, we invested in more than 100 startups in the last 3 years. And we were considered one of the most active angel groups in Europe altogether. We invest, each group invests not in many companies per year, maybe 10 companies per year, but when you join all together, then it creates a substantial movement. And we are very happy to be here and share and learn with you too.
Absolutely, and obviously your PhD in angel investing is a really unique qualification to have as well. So it was great to hear about that. So given it the focus, Olena, we might kind of kick off with yourself here. So the this fund, this Angels for Ukraine fund, this is a new fund and a new product. So you've already gone through a couple of evaluation committees. So I just want to talk to you about how did you do that so quickly? So how do you get in screen companies? How did you go to market to find those companies that you would then invest in? And how do you guys go about screening, and what are you actually looking for?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Actually, I went first. I went through the program for the leaders, which Rui mentioned. So I learned all this process, and I really admire how the machine is built inside Core Angels, because every process is clear and everything is discussed. So after that, we spoke with the biggest players in Ukraine, means like the Ukrainian Startup Fund, Seeds of Bravery, acceleration programs, and we introduced us. And then we said that we are launching the application process for the first investment committee for the startups. And we received 250 applications from the startups. And then we needed to do the selection. So we created the special inner committee, which looked through all these applications. And after that, we selected around 15 startups to meet personally and to hear their pitches, and then to choose 4 for the first investment committee. So that was the funnel. And the same process we did for the second one. So right now we are making the decision about investing in some of startups from the second investment committee, and maybe even from the first one. We will come back to those startups because that was the summertime, and that's why the investment didn't happen, because everyone is in holidays.
Yeah, that's actually a key point. It's for startups, but also for angel investors. Trying to close deals in the summertime is difficult for a whole bunch of reasons. So legal firms close up, etc. So that's interesting. So it's a partnership approach, right? So you go to partners that have access to lots of angel investors. So you got that initiative. 250, and you bring that down to 15. What I want to ask you about is what was that criteria that you were looking for to narrow that funnel? So how were you making decisions to say, actually, this is not a startup we're interested in, this is a startup we're interested in?
Yeah, so we're looking for the startups with a valuation under 5 million first. And that's pre-seed seed stages who ask not more than 300K. Sometimes it was 500, but anyways. And yeah, we're industry agnostic. We look on the traction, on some activity of the startup. Sometimes the startup may be active, and that's why it gives the opportunity to become successful. Yeah, and actually, I think we do this process quite well, because the previous time we met with you, it was the day when we had our investment committee. And on this investment committee, we had one startup, which is called Bliss Brain. And 2 weeks later, they participated in IT Arena, and they took second place. So, and during these 2 weeks, they also received a grant from USF. So it means for us that we do this selection quite well, and maybe we also will consider them in the future investments.
Good, good. And that's a key point. We're always learning, and sometimes you see validation points from elsewhere in the ecosystem as well, which gives confidence to your investors and gives confidence that you're backing the right startup at the right stage. So Anna, we might go to you around that. So how are you guys going to market and getting these investable companies in front of you, and how do you select after that?
Well, we are happy and lucky to be powered by T Ventures, right? So and basically we built this kind of vehicle, right? The ecosystem where we had the fund, which is basically for us the partner, right? That is looking for startups and performing due diligence, negotiating the terms, preparing the deal for the iClub, and then the iClub team is analyzing the deal and presenting the deal from the standpoint of the angels, right? Because we know how the angels perceive what is important to them, etc. So we have also our internal processes. But if to talk about the fund, and so basically the sources, again, during more than 10 years of existence of the fund was building a huge network of partners, right? The partners that are VC funds, but not only those are angel investors and super angels. So people that have huge portfolios already, right? And they are more like, you know, perceived by the market as a kind of micro VCs than just a person, because they have very strong and solid portfolios. So we've been building this network, and this is a huge kind of source for us, because when a strong partner is on board already with the team and they are sharing the deal flow with us, so we definitely consider that. Another source which is very important to us is actually our the entrepreneurs, right? Because we have in the fund, we have 240 companies that we've invested in, right? So that's a huge kind of source, and a lot of like huge network. And there are already now being in iClub, we see companies that are launched by the teams that have exited, right, or had some successful stories before, and they present something new to iClub members, and that's absolutely a success story, always a no-brainer, because when you know the team, you know their kind of track record, that's clear that there is much more chances for success. Yeah, so that's an important. Of course, the team, the fund team, is always in search of the companies, right? So we are looking for the opportunities. For example, there is another track that we are focused on, is that we proactively approach entrepreneurs that are promising. And actually, last year we had we were very lucky to jump in like the last train in the deal that was the founder that was a female founder, which is also usually like another additional credit for us. So we like to invest in female founders. So that was a lady. She was leaving her job, and she was like not putting anything publicly, but we were in touch with her for some time. And so one of the partners approached her and asked how was she doing, etc. And well, she said that well, she actually launching something and already raising the first funds, etc. So we were happy to join this, and this is a very a great company, a great performer in the portfolio already. So that's also a source for us, right? So we do that. We do that as well. And as for the criteria, the team. Of course, the team is important. As I mentioned, serial entrepreneurs with exits, like people, like teams that have expertise, which is a kind of unfair advantage. This is just the one person in the world with such an expertise, right? And that's the person that is in the team. So we will definitely consider that. Also, as we are early stage fund, often we invest in the companies that that can actually perform, and they show us like very strong traction in very short time. So they show that they can actually execute, and the business model is working. So they actually have a product market fit, and also what is important for us, the size of the market. So we are investing in very large markets, understanding that even if there are competitors, right? So there is still a huge share of market that we can obtain, like based on the competitive advantage that the company has. So that's from my side.
Excellent. Yeah, look, you've covered a lot of ground there. I think one of the key points there that I think will resonate with anyone running an angel syndicate is the power of the returning successful entrepreneur. So it is a huge part of this game is investing in people and investing in their track record. So Asir, good morning. We see you popped on there and your camera is on. You're on the next session, but you've joined our panel discussion here. So you might just turn your camera off if that's okay, and we'll chat again soon. Thank you. So Rui, we might just come to you from a core angels perspective, how you guys are getting in good investable companies into your pipeline.
Okay. So we have a organized structure that inside each angel fund, we have three major boards. One board is the pre-selection board, after we have the investment committees. But this board of angels normally is in the beginning of the funnel. So we have like a pre-validation of some of angels. We see this as an opportunity of the angels for learning with more experienced angels. So they go together and they pre-select those startups that will be presented later in an investment committee. So we look into 50 goes to 10, we speak directly, then to 3, and this group of angels do that until the investment committee. A second board is what we call the involvement board. The involvement, because if we are angels, we need to add value. So we nominate an archangel responsible, we call archangel, on top of the angel.
Archangel, okay, yeah.
Archangel.
Yeah, I like it. I've never heard that in angel context, but I like it. It's a new one for me. An archangel.
An archangel.
He's the guy with the sword waving.
Yeah, because you need to do some training. Also, it's a career perspective. Also, it's very nice. So, and this is some rules. Also, one giving value, not just controlling the startup, but also creating value and being the bridge to the other group members to create value together. And each board also has regular meetings by themselves, but it's free for other members of the group, of each group. And the third level and the third board, that is the exit and valuation. So we try to maintain the same valuations, the fair valuations of the startup. We help to define the next round. And also we try to work on early exits from that perspective, trying to, like you said, and I said, it's like not a marriage, but a planned divorce. So we try to articulate with the founders the possibility that we can have an early exit, even if we help them to find the next husband. Okay, so with the three groups, the three boards working, we have a process related with the essence of what angel investing is about. It's selecting well together, adding value together, and preparing exits and early exits. That's our essence.
Oh, very good. That's kind of really interesting that the angels are, you've kind of got multiple layers of selection and validation, and the angels are involved in each of those.
One important thing I see just as a recent criteria, that we don't invest if we cannot aggregate value. So what I see in different groups, that we are not going only for financial investing. If the startup has a good plan or not, if this is not related with our investment thesis, it's not related that we can aggregate value to them, not only money, but money, and on top of that, something that we can introduce to help them on clients, on whatever, that if we don't see that fit, we don't invest just for money. That's clear for an angel perspective.
Absolutely. Andrew, we might talk to yourself now and Zas, particularly on the angel side, how you guys are getting to the market and getting these good companies in front of your angels.
Sure, yeah. So for us, we are basically leveraging the embedment or routing our into ecosystem as a VC ecosystem and IT tech ecosystem for probably like 20 years in the Ukrainian market. And that's how we kind of know the founders even before they were doing something, right? They were doing probably previous jobs. Also, we have this quite unique approach. So we are telling all of the founders to come to us, if they raising money, to come to us at least 6 months prior to fundraising, 9 months. It doesn't matter. The earlier, the better. And we are the only guys who have like open office hours. So you can book a call with us. You can get advice from me, and I've been mentoring at Techstars, Seedstars, Antler, like everything that was happening in Ukraine, and we're literally rooted with every kind of bootcamp, investment committee for accelerator, incubator, and all the way to the largest national pitch competition. And also the similar thing the guys doing from United Angel Network. Sasha is here, so they also like founders, so people know them. Right, and they also deeply rooted in the Lviv ecosystem, kind of even more precisely. So you have to be there. People have to know you, so they have to come to you first with the idea. Also, we've built a network of advisors. So it's over 150 people worldwide. So we have founders with exits through M&A all the way to IPO, kind of those who exited and rebought the companies, kind of all sorts of stories like that could happen to an entrepreneurial path. There are a group of people from big tech and professionals from like Wall Street, legal consulting that have access to accounts, right? So and a lot of these people kind of bring in deal to us, and also like the founders. So we don't approach directly in most cases. I would say 90% we get in the leads from our network. Even however, we actively monitoring social media on the companies that we are kind of interested in. So we have a special tool that helps us monitor and see kind of the velocity, and if we see there's something happening like very interesting, so we can approach them in some time. But this strategy of investing in the startups that we've been tracking for a long time is playing well. So we have several deals. Like I've been mentoring startups like Zilli, for instance. I was mentoring them in Bootcamp 2021. It was September, and they were just doing MVP stage. Then they come to me when when the war started. They had like $20,000 MRR in May, and comparing to other startups that like were failing, having troubles, these guys were rocking. And then we invested in them, and it's like, so for us, we're like actually one of the biggest investors. So we're trying to kind of keep this long tail strategy. Yeah, the same happened with Comeback Mobility. So we already did like 3 follow-ons and investments in them. I also was mentoring them since they were at Ukrainian Startup Fund. And I can go on and go on. So for us, it works well, and the founders like us because we've been, through multiple stages when they were very early, and we were like helping them with advice and expertise. But a little bit to back on what Rui says. So, we have this standard process. So like we want to know the founders, and that's very important. Then we have it's about like our deal memo list. It's about 20 questions, starting from validation of idea, velocity, like founder investor fit, reference check, like all the way to exit potential. But for us, it's like very important to see like if we can add value, because if we cannot add value as a group, for us it doesn't make sense. So we kind of very active and very hands-on in terms of founders, and this is kind of more problem on the VC side, because 94% of general partners of venture fund haven't built anything in their entire life. So they either come from capital markets or kind of deep pockets, this kind of, that they have access to capital, right? So we as partners, we come from entrepreneurial side. So we have, product, tech, marketing, kind of exits. Like, so we've been there, and we're trying to basically help startups to kind of have less mistakes made on that way. You're still gonna make it, right? But at least with our experience, you're gonna do a few less. Yeah. So that's the approach, and for us, very important to be very engaged, and we are very open also to co-investments. We do like I'm mentioning here United Angel Network, but they do deals through our legal structure, so we share kind of even angels. So we're very open to partnering. For us, it's like, and for my second head, I'm also chairman at venture committee ecosystem and board member. And our goal is actually to bring more capital to Ukraine, because like the ultimate thing is, right, it's helps startup founders and help economy to recover. So for us, it's important to have, because there is, I'm saying that the cup is half empty or even 2/3 empty in terms of the capital that we can deploy internally. And for us, like, why don't you come with those who are already on the market, that's done the diligence, we're going to share with you the deal and do with that an amazing deal, and let's say extend the network of partner expertise that's been brought to the deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really interesting. Thank you. And I think well, for me, the key points there is it's a contact sport. You've got to be heavily involved in the ecosystem like you guys are. And that's where you could start to get early signals of what is interesting and coming down the tracks. So Olena, we might just circle around the group again here and just quickly talk to you about when you're got a company into pitch to how are you doing that? Is it in person? Are you doing it in a completely virtual way, or is it a hybrid? So what does that perfect pitch into your fund look like?
Yeah, so mostly those pitches are done online, and first we do this evaluation process, and this pitch is 5 minutes long, and then we ask the question. Usually the meeting is not more than 30 minutes, and the questions can be 15 minutes long or something like that. And when we do investment committee, that's the 4 startups presented, and they pitched during 3 minutes and then 10 minutes for the questions. So first part is all pitches. And after that, we have the part of discussion with investors. How did they like the startups? Can we add some value to these niches? And do we have expertise in these areas? And actually, should we invest in those startups or no? And I guess my consulting experience, I didn't mention it, but during 10 years, I've been doing this sales consulting, and it helps to evaluate the companies before we show them to investment committee. And I guess this also, like my first investors in our group, it's my clients from the consulting that's the biggest owners of the big companies, and they are ready to put their free money into Ukrainian startups. So it's like a collaboration of all activities, which gives the good result. I hope we will receive these good results soon for our startups.
Well, fingers crossed. So Anna, into iClub, how do you guys run your pitch sessions?
Yeah, as I mentioned, due to the fact that we are kind of part of the ecosystem together with the TA Ventures Fund, we have a bit different approach. So we basically have a couple of investments that we share with investors during the months. So these are the company that TA Ventures has selected and is already investing in. So the decision is made on the fund side. And only in this case, we are presenting the deal to iClub investors. So of course we prepare on all the materials. So we have, thanks to the fund, we have an investment case which is very detailed. We prepare the analytics on the market, on the trends, so the investors could have, kind of bigger picture and the context of the business. So we prepare all that material that are shared with investors. But I think one of the most important things for them to make the decision is, as an addition, is a deep dive call that we always we hold this with the founding team. So, and the people present on the call is also important. So there is always a moderator for iClub, so the person who knows the investors and knows how to ask the questions and which questions to ask. So we prepare the questions, and we ask investors as well to share their questions beforehand, so that we have, kind of prepared agenda. Then we have the founding team, and also we have a partner who is leading this deal from the fund team, right? And we have kind of like three parts of the call. So the first is very basic and fast introduction. Then we have the conversation, which is moderated between iClub representative and the founding team, asking all these questions. Investors participating have the opportunity to ask questions live, so they can use Q&A feature as here, but also they can actually raise the hand and ask the question live and kind of, have a follow-up, etc. So we address all the questions during the call, and then we thank the team. They leave, and we stay with the partner and discuss the fund rationale, which is very important. So the partner is actually sharing all the insights that we have inside the team that we prepared for the investment committee, or what are the strengths and what are the risks related, and how we see this opportunity to actually develop during the next 12-18 months. And that's very important for our investors, because the fund is our partner, right? So the partner for every investor, and they need to understand what is the partner sentiment about the deal. And that's usually these conversations are not so short, like these pitches are not the pitches actually, right? They are more like conversations. So they are pretty detailed, and they take from 30 minutes to 40 minutes, sometimes even longer. If the team has traction, there are a lot of things to discuss. We can discuss even for an hour. And then this is basically the moment, like in the funnel, when the investors usually convert from the interest or some questions to actually commitments, right? So because they get the information, they get the feeling of the team, even online, right? Because we have investors in 42 countries. We invest in startups all over the world, so it's difficult, to have an offline session. But still, even in online, you can see how the team present, how they pitch, how they react on the questions, how how they are kind of open, to provide information, to share, etc. I think that that's really very important, because we as a fund never invest until we meet the team face to face.
Oh, okay.
That's why we have partners and venture partners all over the globe, and they actually meet with the team. So for us, it's important, and we should give at least some kind of that feeling to the investors of iClub as well, right?
It's so true, because there always is that element of things are just a little bit different in person, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's a really kind of involved process. That's very interesting how you guys are going about it. So Rui, anything to add to that in terms of core angels? What's your process for the pitch element? So the first time you meet these companies.
Look, there is a new element, yes, that I can add, and we, the people that are in in the boards of selection also listen the pitches of them in order to also to help them to do a good pitch in general investment committee.
Okay.
And we do that not because because if we select the startups, we believe they are good to be investable, so they are investable.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes they are not prepared even to do the right pitch, and they go there and they put their feet with their hands. We say this in Portuguese. I don't know if there is a clear translation, but
Yeah.
But they complicate their life with going with things that that at least at the first even they don't touch the most important points.
Mm-hmm.
So this group of people has a critical approach about their pitch, and we try to analyze with them. Look, if you pitch like this, you are not going to be successful there. So you need to touch most important points because they are there. They are there. Absolutely. So the thing they need to be visible for the people and in a clear language, in a clear way. So this is a type of work that is important to do to help.
Absolutely. And I think even Rui, when it comes to deep tech investments, I think that can be even a greater challenge, right? To tell that story of a highly complex piece of innovation in a simple way. So it's all about stories.
And one thing that the entrepreneurs tend to not they not value is the administrative and commercial parts. So sometimes they are much more focused on technicalities on the product and then don't highlight other parts that for an investor point of view are relevant. Absolutely. And they forget that, and people can, if they don't say that clearly, they can see, oh, these guys are not entrepreneurs, they are only product makers, and this is the type of thing that we can help.
Absolutely, great. Andrew, we've got literally a couple of minutes left here, so we might just finish in terms of ZAS Angels and ZAS Ventures. When you guys are putting the task to companies to pitch, what does that look like?
So in terms of the fund, so we have several layers of pitches, right? So we have like the first screening meeting that we request additional information, and that typically like from the ZAS actually perspective, we are the first investor, so we even help them to kind of come up with a data room, so put the right materials there. So it's kind of twofold. On one hand side, we kind of advise them, but then it takes like not traditional process, right? Because they usually don't have the data room with everything that standard kind of Silicon Valley venture fund would like to see, or any kind of the fund. So it's quite an engagement and a trip to get there, to fix the deck and stuff. But at least in this way, we engage with them and we see how reactive they are, how professional they are, how they deliver on their promises, and it's kind of important for us. And then that's the team working with them, sometimes myself, and then we have like the final. We have like a investment committee to decide if we want to go to a deeper due diligence after that. So then, if yes, so we get assigned 2 partners to run the diligence process, was kind of filling out all of our 20 questions, not 20 questions, but actually 20 different blocks of questions. And once it's done, so we take it to an investment committee and make decision on that part. On the and we might have like additional questions during the process with the startup. Then on the syndicate side, it's pretty much the same. If it's easier when we co-invest along the fund, if the fund was leading and then the syndicate is just doing a joint in the round, so we basically share all of the materials with the angels. I think we're a little bit more kind of our angels in the community are less engaged in terms of like diligence and sourcing. So we kind of bringing, because we have this community of like entrepreneurs globally, like tech founders globally, so they don't have like a sourcing. That's kind of our feature, right? And that's what we do. And then we engage them on a diligence process, which is very important, even though we are like industry agnostic fund, but because we have this network of professionals across of industry, so we pretty easily can do diligence on like any vertical. So for instance, we have a guy who was chief cybersecurity officer for Google, Facebook, the kind of the top guys in all verticals. And then we have this town hall meeting once we've run. So our process for the syndicate looks this the following way. You have to join. Once you join in the syndicate, you have to sign the pledge of ethical investing in our community rules. And I take a call with all of the new members personally. So we want to make sure that there is like the main rule is that there are no assholes, and of course like no Russians, but I think it's clear. But the asshole rule is very important because this is kind of an engagement for like long time, 5 to 10 years typically, and we want to be comfortable with all of the investors in the syndicate. Want to be comfortable with all of the like startup founders, right? So you have to enjoy the ride and not kind of suffer that you made the decision, right? So that's like it takes a lot of my time to vet all of these members who willing to join and feel that this community is going to be kind of like actually the new person will be adding to this community, right? Not kind of just destroying the vibe.
It's key. It's key because one bad apple can have a big effect on the whole culture of the group. So guys, unfortunately, we've run out of time. I think we could have kept chatting here for a long time and definitely moved into due diligence, which it would be lovely to have some of you guys back at the next workshop to talk about that whole due diligence process and how we manage portfolios and investments after the investment is made, which is sometimes even more critical than the decision to actually invest in the company. Thank you so much, everybody, for taking your time this morning. Andrew, especially for joining in the middle of the morning from San Francisco.
Of the night, yeah, thanks.
Middle of the night, yeah. So this is fantastic. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it, and we'll hopefully see you again soon.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Great stuff. So look, we're going to move on to our next session, which is a chat or a presentation by Asier Rufino. Good morning, Asier.
Hi, good morning. Thank you very much.
Hi. Yeah, thank you, Asier. Asier is a good friend of Access BIC for many years. He's helped us out on one of our major events every year called the Entrepreneur Experience. Here in Cork, he's traveled to Ireland to participate in that and a number of times. So we go back a long ways. He's the CEO and co-founder of Technalia Ventures. So that this discussion is going to be particularly interesting because Seeds of Bravery is specifically focused on deep tech investment, and Asier is a specialist in understanding deep tech venture building and deep tech investment. So I think we're going to have a really interesting conversation with Asier. I know, Asier, you're under a lot of time pressure because you're preparing for a board meeting, I understand, in 20 minutes or so. So I'll hand the floor over to yourself.
Well, thank you very much for your kind introduction. I've prepared a few slides, and actually, finally, the board meeting is starting a little bit later, so I think we should be fine. So thanks a lot, Clara, for the invitation, and it's a real pleasure seeing you also, Finula, connected over there. So indeed, we have a long-standing relationship. So in terms of background, my day-to-day is to bring technologies from lab to market, literally. I'm the co-founder of Technalia Ventures. It's a deep tech venture builder that is being pioneered in Europe and connected to the EIC accelerator. You remember, and then I collaborate with the Ministry of Science and Innovation in Spain, and I teach precisely deep tech at Instituto de Empresa and Deusto. In terms of Technalia, is the largest applied research organization in Spain with 1,500 researchers, 1,600 people from all over the world, and they develop technologies on a daily basis, financed by public projects. And our role is basically to transform or to articulate or to bring to fruition the mission of Tecnalia, which is to transform technology into, before we were saying GDP, with the last strategic plan, we said transform technology into prosperity. And we are in the process of doing so. This is Times Square, just 10 days ago. H2Site is one of our portfolio companies. And Aldo, I'm going to cover with you the difficulties in terms of scaling and investing in deep tech as business angels. This is a company that we created in 2020. We had a partial exit just two years after incorporating the company with a multiplier of 4. And right now we are closing a B series of 40 million euros. And the multiplier in terms of our investment is 23. So you can actually, well, we'll see whether we end up cashing out our chips, but you can make money also in deep tech. I will quickly run into some of the different aspects behind Tecnalia Ventures. We have created 18 spin-offs in different realms of activity: medical devices, artificial intelligence, offshore floating platforms. H2Site is focused on resolving the issues with transportation of hydrogen. Well, we pretty much create, and we are going to cover it later, spin-offs wherever there is technological excellence in Tecnalia, and technological excellence defined like teams that develop technologies that are state of the art worldwide. We don't have a fund, also we are called Tecnalia Ventures. Actually, what we do is look for, as I mentioned, the publicly funded projects where Tecnalia gets involved, and we spot technologies that have the potential to turn into products that resolve P&L problems, as we are going to see in greater detail later on. But we source funding from different sources: equity, grants, tax schemes, soft loans. So we have close to 170 million euros of funding for our companies, close to 300 jobs created, high quality jobs that are in a lot of companies. We have more than 20% of PhDs. Our companies turned 20 million euros in revenues in 2023. And then it's very important, in line with the mantra that is coming from Brussels, from the European Commission, all the impact that deep tech can have in terms of being a vector for catalyzing regional reindustrialization. And this is why the term deep tech is in my opinion, having a lot of hype lately, and quite connected with Draghi report. I'm not gonna get into the detail, but this is the mapping of our portfolio companies connected to sustainable development goals and some of the key topics. And we are also connected to the TTO Circle. It's a G35 of top tech transfer offices from the top research organizations in Europe. In my case, I'm a board member and responsible for precisely deep tech entrepreneurship. And just let me get into what deep tech is. Then I have another slide in terms of definition. People are usually getting tangled about exactly what it is, but I think this representation is quite helpful as business angels to understand where you could eventually get into. So if we take a twofold vector for representing the different types of tech entrepreneurship, which will be risk, and up it will be high risk, down it will be lower risk. And we take a product market risk, to the right high risk, and to the left less risk. we see that there is the sweet spot for investment, I would say, for business angels is the bottom left. Are basically replicating innovative, bottom left or just bottom right. The difference on the bottom right is investing on Uber when the innovative business model was conceived, or investing, for instance, in Cabify, that is the Spanish local clone of Uber. Opportunities where you could invest a reasonable amount of money and then see whether the opportunities got traction, and then invest more money and bring in other investors like VCs. All in all, the technological risk is not very substantial, and the issues are more related to execution. And in the case of the bottom right, just seeing whether there is a market opportunity for this innovative business model. Biotech, that oftentimes is lumped together with deep tech, it has a substantial difference. First of all, usually the risk is higher and the amount of investment is more substantial than in deep tech. But nevertheless, if you get it right, if you manage to make it, the problem is that usually when you are at technology readiness level 3, I don't know whether you are familiarized with the technology readiness level scale. Technology readiness level 9 is a product. Technology readiness level 1 is an idea. Technology readiness level 3 is like a concept that could work in a lab, usually on the basis of all the amount of funding that you require. You start striking deals with large pharma companies. Well, usually on technology readiness level 3, you could have VC investment. Technology readiness level 5, 6, you start having licensing deals with big corporations, but it's quite complicated for a business angel to get an angle in this type of deals. But conceptually, it is different from deep tech. In a very substantial question, in a very substantial matter, that is that, and you could see it during COVID with this BioNTech startup in Germany that finally team up with Pfizer. If you get it right, you scale quite fast. The market is there. It happens the same with drugs. In the case of deep tech, you are, as we are going to see in greater detail, in a pioneer's market. The initial sales are not product sales. You are selling prototypes. You are selling concepts. You have to sell sometimes services because the market may not be ready yet because of regulatory issues, because of different sort of risks that I'm going to cover. And then we have all the hype around artificial intelligence, that artificial intelligence could be part of, certainly is part of deep tech. But in my case, I don't know how you feel it, artificial intelligence is being used almost, in some cases, as synonym of digital these days. And it could be rather qualify in the bottom right part of the representation. When we look into R&D investments, we have in deep tech a substantial phase that usually could be 5 to 7 years. Most of the money is coming from non-dilutive sources like grants and public support. In the case of biotech, you have those quantum leap movements that are the crystallization of value creation milestones, at which point you have quite a structure in this market, the investment of VCs that could undertake a risk even on a technology readiness level 3. And a regional and a regular startup, you could look for seed investment and a quite early stage, even when the product is not completed. I'm not going to get into the detail here. Probably one of the best conceptualization of what is deep tech. I'm happy to share the slides, and you could read the report that is referred just there. A critical element in deep tech, other than the intangible component and all the patents and IP, it is also the fact that they usually crystallizes in products or value propositions from the tangible world, meaning that you require manufacturing capabilities. So if we summarize in terms of market risk, the initial sales come from demonstrators, and usually you need some public support for those initial sales. There is regulatory risk, and particularly in Europe, with not a common framework in across countries sometimes, so that could be an element for those investments to take a little bit longer. And then you are in the pioneer's course. It's not good in business being the first company doing something, because usually competition looks at you and tries to then figure out what is the segment of the value chain, the market where the value can be captured. In terms of technological risk, is issues about technological feasibility. Then the technological competitive landscape. Usually you try with different types of technology to tap into the same opportunity. IP is critical precisely to protect and have a sort of monopolistic position to mitigate the market risk, and this is why IP is critical. And then you have risks in terms of industrialization. Oftentimes, when you are going to produce a deep tech product, the product in a deep tech company, the manufacturing installations are not there. You need to create the machines to produce those products don't exist, and you need to create a state-of-the-art manufacturing structures. And then it's a different matter whether you fund them with equity, which obviously is not ideal, or where you create a special purpose vehicles where you could introduce debt and other elements in order to finance this type of infrastructures. Well, I'm not going to get into much detail here. Most of just I will point out the fact that oftentimes it's B2B, the business model, and then it becomes critical, this IP or this technological concept, it becomes critical to ascertain what is the P&L problem that it resolves, and you need to develop a model. So in terms of heads up for you as business angels to get into these type of investments that, as you can see, are not straightforward, are not the typical sweet spot for investing, but you can also see that if you get it right, you can have substantial returns in a very short period of time. At the end of the day, the ecosystem is key. It's very important that you try to fish in an ecosystem where you have those features, where you have technological excellence, or you have some labs, universities, research organizations that are well referenced in, they have some research groups that are well referenced in some particular topic. And that are good in the first instance to get non-dilutive funding, grants, European projects, or just local projects. It is important that those technologies are focused on resolving P&L problems that have a positive impact on the P&L of the clients. And it's important that those ecosystems are quite connected to entrepreneurial ecosystems, because we are going to see later on that the team is critical in terms of succeeding in this endeavor. And then it's important that you close the virtuous circle by having a smart capital around these ecosystems, meaning that corporate VCs or that deep tech VCs could be over there waiting maybe for you getting involved at earlier stages and then bringing them deal flow. Okay. Quite important that some organization, tech transfer offices or venture builders carry out some de-risking of the opportunities before you get involved. And by de-risking, those are some of the activities that you should have someone specialized getting involved as a necessary condition, in my opinion, for you to invest. So you need to have some people probably with PhD background that have looked into the feasibility of the technology and what is the competitive landscape. So how this technological concept can be a winner. It has to be very clear what is the industrialization roadmap, how much money you require, and what are the value creation milestones and the difficulties in terms of mass producing eventually this concept. It's very important that you have well-rounded teams in front of you. I will cover it in more detail later on. And it's very important that there is a fair amount of funding already articulated in the form of grants or just tax schemes, depending on the geography, and then some initial idea of a go-to-market strategy with a very clear fit of product client channel, and then just a very clear reflection about what are the regulatory hurdles to bring the product to the market, including certification. At the end of the day, you have to check those 5 items. You need to make sure that these opportunities focus on a market that perhaps is not big at the moment, but is going to turn into a very large market because the trends are going in that direction. You have to ensure the technical feasibility, and then you have to ensure that the cost of the concept that ensures this technical feasibility is not going to be higher than the costs that the end clients already have. So you need to resolve a problem, either this product removing a higher amount of cost, or just generating revenues higher than the cost of the product. And at the end of the day, it's axiomatic that if you want to succeed in deep tech, this has to be very, very clear and tangible. Then in terms of sustainable advantage, we will be rather talking about IP, and obviously a good team that is executing and is creating some initial clients that are satisfied with the value proposition, and also a team that is capable of carrying out lobby/advocacy type of work to pave the way for regulatory clearance. Very important, well-rounded teams, and this is a major issue because usually deep tech comes from labs. And this is not a matter of having the researchers leaving the labs and joining the company massively. You need the Bosniaks, but you need the Steve Jobs. And the problem is that the Steve Jobs are not in the lab. The Steve Jobs are up in the ecosystem. And one of the major struggles that I have as a venture builder is to create the type of well-rounded teams that are going to represent investable opportunities by smart capital, like business angel or like super business angels, because the funding rounds is quite strange that initially go below 1 million euros. And you need to combine the two type of profiles, meaning that the founders who have been in the lab have to mingle with other complementary profiles, and you need to set up the right type of incentives in terms of ESOP also for this type of complementary business profiles that are critical, because are the people that are going to sell the company to investors, are the people who are going to sell the product to clients, are going to sell the company to future employees and create the culture around. And this type of business acumen is very complicated to find in researchers. Okay, very important, as I mentioned, to ascertain what is the P&L problem that the product is addressing. Valuation should never get on the way. It's very complicated or almost impossible to evaluate these type of companies. Convertible loans with a discount on the forthcoming round by professional investors like VCs, probably the way to go if you think that the right pieces around deep tech are in place. And just you need to be definitely very ambitious and dream big. And a lot of investments in deep tech are very connected with purpose because the opportunities are addressing some of the big societal challenges. And that's what I've got to you. And I don't know if we have time for questions, but otherwise I'll be happy to address any questions you may have or comments.
Hi, Esther. Thank you so much. No, that was really, really helpful. A lot to take on as well, but great tips on the difference between startups, the regular startups and the deep tech startups as well. How it's a pioneering space and, you know, the intangible that it's creating, which is even more difficult to deal with, and how important it is to consider the IP and regulatory and all the other tips you gave are really, really helpful. We won't be able to take questions just yet, but I do encourage everyone to write those questions down and in the chat box, and we're going to make
so
sure
you have my email or LinkedIn. I'm happy to connect. So thanks a lot for the opportunity. Take care.
Thank you, Esther. I appreciate your time.
Bye bye.
Bye. So next on, we're going to have a speaker called Emily Ryan. So she is a managing director of Iris Investment Angel Syndicate here in Ireland. It is the largest angel investment in Ireland at the moment, and she will tell us all about the secrets of how to go from deal flow to investor pitches. So over to you, Emily. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks, Clara.
Going to be sharing your PowerPoint as well.
Yes, I will share it now. Yeah.
Sorry, we ran a little bit over, but I think we're in good time to actually pick your brain with all your expertise is over 10 years or so or more. You can tell us about it, how long you've been doing this.
Okay, so can you see that? Is that okay?
Yeah, all great.
Perfect. So as Clara said, I am one of the managing directors of Iris Investments, which is I think the largest private angel investment syndicate in Ireland. So just by way of a little bit of background, Iris was set up in 2011, and we have grown in that time from having about 6 members when we began to we now have 55 members. So it has grown significantly over those years. And in terms of the sectors that we tend to focus on as a syndicate, our primary sector that we would invest in would be medical device. We also invest in life science, pharma, some digital health. We have invested in environmental technology also. And we tend to predominantly invest in Irish companies, mainly because we then have transparency into them and they're close to us and we can see them, but we have invested in the US and in Sweden and in the UK also. So just to give you a very quick summary, you can see how the investment syndicate has grown over the years. So in 2011, when we started out that year, we did about 600,000, I believe, in investment. Last year we did 10.7 million, and this year we will probably finish on about 16 million. So all in all, we have invested just over 65 million. And you can see that it has grown significantly in the last 3 years. It has really ramped up. So we have had 112 rounds of investments. So we have invested in 38 companies, but a lot of the time you will end up following your money in follow-on rounds. We've had 12 exits to date. So of those exits, 13.2 million would have been invested in those companies. And as an aggregate out of them, we got back 39.5 million. So that also includes in those figures 3 losses, which can be expected in angel investing. So we have had pretty good returns so far. So hopefully that will continue. So I am here to talk to you today about deal flow. So essentially, where do we find our opportunities? So this has evolved for us over the years, and a well-managed deal flow is really crucial to ensuring that investors can identify and evaluate the most promising deals. So the most important exercise you can do as a syndicate, in my opinion, is to make sure that as a syndicate, you have a predefined set of criteria by which you select your companies. And equally, as a founder, before you go down the road too far with a syndicate, you need to make sure that you actually fit into what they are looking for in their portfolio. So obviously, this is the secret to getting returns is to select the right companies at the beginning. So how do we do it? So the deal flow pipeline involves 4 main activities. This would be all of the activities for angel investing, but the deal flow involves the first 4 there. So a pipeline, screening meetings, feedback and coaching, and then the actual pitch to the syndicate. Sorry, I'm just going to bring these all up here. Syndicate focus. As I said, our syndicate is focused generally on medtech. And what I would advise is that you focus your syndicate on where you would have your expertise, or the combined expertise of the syndicate. So that will really help. The investment company stage you need to consider. Do you want to invest at seed stage or at Series A? Are you interested in getting in very early? Are you interested in a later stage company? For us, this has also evolved over the life of the syndicate. So essentially, as the demographic of our syndicate members has gotten older, there is now a demand within our syndicate for a later stage company, to bring later stage companies to the syndicate. So this is something that can also change over the course of the syndicate. So it can certainly evolve. The investment type, you need to consider what investment types you are willing to invest in. Do you only want an equity investment? Will you invest via CLN, convertible loan note? What conditions do you want with that convertible loan note? We would have a standard template or conditions that we would look for. And will you accept a safe note or not? These became very popular over the last few years. With us personally, we don't invest via safe notes because of the uncertainty around what that investment will convert, the valuation that it will convert at. What share type do you want? This can also evolve depending on the market. 10 years ago, it was very easy to get preference shares or participating preference shares. That then left and you can only get ordinary shares. Now preference shares are back again. So a lot of these things you need to consider. Tax incentives. In different countries, there will be different tax incentives for investing. So in Ireland, for instance, you can avail of EIS eligibility. I know it's available in the UK. There's probably similar tax incentives in different countries. So some of our members would ask us to put a few of these EIS eligible investments in front of them every year. IP, intellectual property. For us, this is a must. We look for companies who have a protectable IP. Scalability is the product idea company capable of scaling, and the potential for return multiple. What return multiple are you looking for? Probably a silly question, obviously, as much as possible, but there will be some companies that will maybe very good companies, but even if they are successful in their own right, they may only give you a 2 times return. Are you willing to take the risk for that? We would tend to look for between a 6 and 10 times return on our investment, the potential for that at the beginning, because as rounds go on, you will get diluted, especially if you go in at a very early stage. So you need to decide what multiple you are willing to consider. And if you have predefined criteria like this for your syndicate, it makes it much easier to sift through the companies that come to you, because you will get an awful lot of companies coming to you for investment. And so if straight away they don't fit into these criteria, we know that they're not for us. So where do you find these companies? Proactive sourcing, reactive sourcing. So there's going to be an element of going out and looking for them, and then especially as the syndicate grows, companies will find you. But essentially at the beginning of a syndicate, you will need to go to events, network, reach out to startups, entrepreneurs, build relationships in the startup ecosystem. I know our previous speaker spoke about the importance of the ecosystem, and he's absolutely correct. So accelerators, venture capitalists, startup communities, Enterprise Ireland, your local enterprise offices, all of that, you really need to engage in that ecosystem. That is where a lot of the companies will come from. Develop relationships with universities in particular, and also depending on what sector you are focused on, that will determine where you need to go to look for your opportunities. Now that our syndicate is 13 years in operation, 95% of our deal flow comes to us, if you like. But it is also through those relationships that we have developed over the years. So a huge amount will come from EI, from BIX, from other syndicates. So other syndicates would be my biggest tip. We work a lot with other syndicates, and they are not in competition to you. Often we would have a certain amount of interest in an investment, and that company needs to fill around. So if you are able to bring on board another syndicate that you are used to working with, it makes it an awful lot easier. For instance, we would work a lot with the MedTech syndicate in Galway. If they see a good opportunity, they would tell us, look, we've seen this company, it's brilliant, take a look. So that would be one of our top tips, to work really closely with the other syndicates in your country. Second step is then screening. And there is a couple of different ways now to do this. So when we started out, there wasn't really software available for deal screening. Now there are a number of software platforms like Gust and Dealum. We have taken a look at these over the years. For us, it doesn't suit our syndicate demographic, but we have visited other syndicates in Scotland and places that use them, and they can work very well. So I would say it's hugely member dependent and technology driven. You also, for the likes of Dealum, generally how it will work is they will put up a lot of companies who have maybe applied to them. The members will go in, take a look, decide which ones they would like to see on pitch day. And those companies that have the most number of votes will actually pitch to the members. However, that really depends then on your members being really proactive and getting in there and looking at those opportunities. And our members have made it fairly clear that they would rather that a small group of us does the screening and selects the companies and puts them in front of them. Essentially, they want as little work as possible at this stage. So what do? We use an application form through our website, or we will ask them to send us their deck. We will take a look very quickly. We will know, are they the right industry? Are they the right stage? Always look at the team. So that will very quickly, we will know if they are not a fit. If we think that they are potentially a fit, we will move to step 2, where we would have a formal screening meeting with them. This usually for us would be 2 to 3 of us, our core group who work for Iris. We'll meet with them, usually about a 45-minute meeting, and they will pitch to us, and we will ask them questions and decide in more detail whether or not they are for us. So what do we look for? Obviously the syndicate specific criteria that I discussed, a realistic market potential and size. You want to see that there's market potential and size, but it must be realistic. And the most important thing is the competence and experience of the team. The team is huge. So after the initial meeting, we would give some feedback and coaching. So many entrepreneurs, this is really important because many entrepreneurs and founders are brilliant at what they do. They know their product, they know their business, but they're not necessarily brilliant at raising funding. Raising funding is a whole different skill set. So they may not give you a good presentation. They may not be good at getting their company across, at getting their idea across, at getting its potential across. So it's really important that you don't let a bad presentation affect your decision, the initial bad presentation. So you also know your members and what they expect from a pitch. So you will be well able to tell the founder, listen, this is what our members would like to see in a pitch. And it gives them the best possible opportunity then of getting the investment that they need. And it gives your members the best opportunity of getting the information they need out of the actual pitch. So we would say, don't get into the technical details. You have about 15 minutes in front of our members. Give the story, give the problem, give the solution, give why your solution is the best solution. They need to be really engaging. They need to have a deep knowledge of their business. They need to be able to answer questions straight away about revenues that they've done or targets that they have. They need to be able to validate their market, tell you what the market potential is. They need to have a very clear route to market. This is huge. So if you can have the best product in the world, but if you don't have a realistic route to market, it's never going to succeed. They need to address their competitors. There's always competition, even if it's just the status quo. How are they going to change that? That is competition. The financials, they need a really clear financial plan, a runway, a burn rate. Cash flows are essential. It's the number one reasons that startups will fail. So you really need to see their cash flow. You need to know that they understand their cash flow and the exit potential. So at the end of the day, they are pitching to investors who want to make money from their investment. So you need to show how they will get a return, how and when they will exit. This is obviously, you are just projecting or trying to imagine this, but investors need to have an idea of when or how that can happen. Examples of exits in the industry, examples of multiples of return. So by coaching and giving this feedback, investors will get a better understanding of the founders and their ability to take feedback. That is huge. This step can give you a really big insight into the founders and the ability of the team to take feedback. And a good founder really needs to be able to take feedback. And it will also improve the overall quality of the deals presented. So just to have at the end there, a lot of entrepreneurs may be great at building a good business. They may have a great product or service, but they may not be familiar with raising money. And make sure this isn't what stops you finding a great opportunity. So we would then, after that point, if we believe they're a good fit, we have helped them with their pitch, we will then invite them to our pitch event. For us, we have 4 events a year, 1 a quarter. 3 of these are on Zoom and 1 is in person. Prior to COVID, they used to always be in person. Following COVID, we've kept it this way because by doing it online, we get a greater attendance. We can also record the pitches so that if any of our members were not able to log in, they can review them afterwards. It's also great for us to be able to have it to review afterwards. However, members really like the networking effect of a syndicate, so we always have an in-person meeting. We tend to do that at Christmas, have a dinner, have a night, and it really gives members the chance to get to know each other and network. So at our events, we have 2 to 4 companies present. Any more will be overload. Each company gets 30 minutes, 15 minutes to pitch, followed by a questions and answers session. And after the pitch, we would always have a closed discussion with just our members. And for our members, this is probably the thing that the 95% of them will say is the most valuable part of being a member of the syndicate. You get to draw on the collective experience of the group. So we will always have this discussion. We will ask people who, if say we have heard about a cardiac medical device, we will then ask the cardiologists in our group, give us some feedback. What do you think? It may seem like the best product in the world to somebody who is not in that specific field, but by drawing on the experience of people who are actually in that field, they can say, look, this isn't really a problem actually, or this is a huge problem and we really need a solution here. So for our members, that has been, I would say, the single biggest benefit of being a member of a syndicate, to rely on that collective experience. We will, in those sessions, usually discuss strength of the team, the business model, the risk factors, the investment term, and the valuation and the exit potential. The valuation is always an interesting discussion. I also liked how the previous speaker said, do not let it get in the way of a deal. You can always negotiate on a valuation. There is always terms that you can put in place. So following that pitch, how we do it is we will poll our members, and if we have sufficient interest, which for us would be a collective interest of 500,000, then we proceed with due diligence and negotiation of terms. What are the key takeaways here? Deal sourcing. Develop a proactive and reactive strategy to find quality deals, develop relationships with other syndicates with the same industry focus. This is huge. Use structured criteria to filter promising startups. They need to be specific to your syndicate. Always have a company pitch to a screening group before they pitch to a larger syndicate. Never let them go straight to the syndicate pitch. Help startups present their business effectively by providing feedback. This will help your members get the most from pitch sessions. A bad first pitch does not equal a bad opportunity. Organize regular pitch events and evaluate the companies collectively. The collective experience of our group is why members continue to renew their membership. I'm absolutely convinced on that. Goal of managing deal flow is to ensure angel investors can efficiently identify, evaluate, and invest in the best opportunities while building strong relationships with the entrepreneurs. It allows you to get to know the entrepreneurs also, and whether or not they will be somebody who can bring this company forward. And without successful deal flow, you cannot succeed as an angel investor. And that is it. So if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm not sure if we're doing questions right now, Clara, so you can.
No, that was fabulous. Thank you so much, Emily. That was very thorough. I mean, I heard a lot about you. We brought this up again about team and ecosystem, how important that is. I mean, the tips about what it looks like to have a strong pitch. That was excellent for us to know, and also how to grow that deal flow, how to grow that network. So thank you for that.
No problem.
I think that our time is so short now that we wouldn't be able to take questions at this point. But what I'll do is, if there are any questions, then we'll revert back to you and by email, and then send it to everybody afterwards.
Perfect. No problem. Thank you, Clara.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Well, so we are getting to the end of our session here, and just as a short, I think we're going to jump straight into the recap of what we covered today. So I'm just going to put If you could put the next slide there for me, Abby, please. Thank you. That's great. We're just going to have a little bit short recap. I know that there was a lot covered, and we could have a 1-hour session with each of the speakers here, and it would be interesting and still not enough to actually cover in depth everything that everyone spoke about. But I just want to thank everyone for your insights and sharing with our audience today. Just to remind everybody that what we saw today was a little bit about what angels bring to the table, what is, and how they operate through syndicates and angel funds and networks. Also had a case study of the Halo Business Angel Network and how that was grown in Ireland. So that's a good example of what it looks like to work in conjunction with other syndicates and how to provide this ecosystem, which is strong for founders. We also shared a little bit about how to set up and structure your syndicate from 2 perspectives here. So from Donna, who showed how to do it in a methodical way and when you're just starting, and then now with Emily sharing to us what it looks like once you've done it and once you've already matured as a syndicate as well. So that was really, really helpful. And it was really good as well to hear from Asier about the sector of deep tech and how it differs from many other sectors when you're actually investing. Startups trajectory there are a little bit different, and it's good to have in mind about the importance of IP, the importance of the barriers that exist in that sector, and that we should treat it a little bit differently because it's very pioneering. So yeah, and I want to thank the panel as well for being here, for participating, and for giving their insights and the great knowledge that you shared about how you go in terms of decision making and and supporting the founders as well, what you have to offer. Yeah, so what's next now is that we have had 2 workshops so far, and at the moment we're going to have our final workshop coming in with a very comprehensive understanding of what investors are looking for. We're going to have a deeper understanding about what is necessary after a pitch. So once the pitch happens, you will learn what a deal flow is, how important they are, and how important it is to have a deep dive, due diligence, how to structure a deal, making the investment, and the portfolio management as well, all the way to making an exit. So in this follow-up workshop, we'll take a close look at the nuances of angel investing, walking you through the process that are essential for making informed and successful investment decisions. So don't miss out on that one. I can see Larry there as well. Anything you'd like to add there, Larry, in terms of questions and answers? And then we're going to go to the demo days.
No, not in terms of question answers, but just, look, thank you to everyone that participated today. And we covered a huge amount of ground. We're going to cover a very different piece of ground on the 26th. So absolutely do attend the next day and let anybody that you know that you think may be interested in attending the next one to just let them know to register and sign up. Yeah, that's great. And thank you so much for all the speakers that were here today. Amazing participation, amazing speaker, amazing collaboration as well from the Seeds of Bravery guys who put this together, help us to spread the word. So I just wanted to really thank everyone for giving up their time. And just for a little reminder for you, we mentioned this at the beginning. On the next slide, it talks about how we're going to have the pitch demo days coming up. So this is a unique opportunity to discover and connect with the most promising Ukrainian startups. We usually will have a few different countries, our partners who are participating on the Seeds of Bravery. They're going to be hosting it online for you. And the dates are up. As you can see, the 29th of October is the next one coming up. And we'll have 3 more after that in November. So do sign up. It's on the link is on the chat box right now. And you will have opportunity to actually see firsthand these founders and startups with innovation that has been, screened, has been vetted, has been preparing for pitching. So as an angel investor, I would strongly encourage you to participate on this next session. So this is all from us. Thank you once again. Thank you, Larry, as well, for participating, and everybody on the background who's been making this possible. Bill, Fanula, and Abby have been fabulous there. All the best to all of you. Have a wonderful day. And see you in the next workshop.